Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
And I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are diving into the magical world of romantasy and covering Born of Blood and Ash by Jennifer Armentrout.
So let's start with why we selected Born of Blood and Ash. So as you know, we're covering the entire Flesh and Fire series, so we're obviously going to read this book. Plus, we have to know how Sera handles becoming the primal of life, how Kolis gets entombed, does Veses and Kin eventually get what's coming to them? Why do the gods go to sleep? We have a lot of questions at the beginning of this book. Some of them get answered and some of them don't, and we got a hell of a lot more at the end of it. Plus, we love everything about Nyktos. He may have risen to the top of my romantasy book boyfriend list, like above Castile, which I didn't think was possible.
Maybe they're tied because, they're
Maybe
very just,
they're
we're in
so
our why
good.
choose era. So also like why choose?
Ooh, we just have all of them?
Just all of them.
So I'm very interested if they're both going to be in the next book and what's going to happen then. And then Jennifer Armentrout has been giving us so many breadcrumbs throughout this series, as well as the Blood and Ash series. It's been incredible to see like some of them start to come together, specifically in this book, and set up what we think might happen in the Primal of Blood and Bone. And then also, I think this is just, I know this is a romantasy, I know it's fiction, but I think it really does a great job of showing how Sera learns to process all of the trauma that she's been through her entire life. So if you've dealt with trauma, which I think a lot of people have, or anything close to what Sera's dealt with, it felt very authentic to read, and it also felt very healing.
Yes, agree 100%. But before we get into all of that, here are a few things you should know about the author Jennifer Armentrout. First, she is a New York Times bestselling author, and she writes young adult, paranormal, science fiction, fantasy, and contemporary romance. So we definitely consider the Flesh and Fire and Blood and Ash series to be adult romantasy, based on obviously the adult content. So keep that in mind when you're recommending these books to other people. And then Jennifer Armentrout herself has a full house. She has a husband, a dog, multiple alpacas, goats, and sheep. Lots of fun going on over there. And sadly, she was diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, which is a group of rare genetic disorders that actually involves a breakdown of and death of cells in her retina, which is going to eventually result in loss of vision. But she's very passionate about educating people on the varying degrees of blindness. So amidst all that, she is able to write hella good stories, and we love her for that.
Yes, we do. So before jumping into this book, a couple of key reminders. As always, this episode will contain spoilers. We assume if you're listening, you've read this book and you've read all of the other books in the Flesh and Fire series and all of the books in the Blood and Ash series except the newest book that comes out later this month, The Primal of Blood and Bone. You have been warned. This book also contains a large number of topics that are going to be sensitive for some readers. We're going to talk about almost all of them on the podcast too. Animal abuse or death, anxiety, assault, blood, bullying, death, depression, emotional abuse, fire, murder, pregnancy, PTSD, self-harm, sexual assault, sexual harassment, suicide, torture, violence, war. There's not that many left that aren't on the list.
Yeah, what isn't even on? Yeah, like that's all of them. Just check all box above all. But now let's talk tropes. So first up, of course, we have fated mates, aka heartmates, because Sera and Nyktos are officially heartmates, which is why she is able to survive the ascension, of course, and become the primal of life. Duh. Love a good heartmate. Then next we have royalty. So as the true primal of life, Sera is also the queen of the gods and has named Nyktos the king of the gods rather than just her consort. So she's equal on the other side too. Next, we have chosen one. We knew Sera was chosen from the very beginning of this book because of the deal her father made with Ethos. What we could not have imagined was her entire bloodline being chosen and descending from the first mortal. Like, literally does not get any more chosen than that. That's crazy. And then we also have Touch Her and Die. Nyktos has always been protective of Sera, but it goes to another level in this book because he realizes how close he was to losing her if she wasn't going to survive the ascension. So he is ready to destroy anyone who speaks negatively to Sera or even attempts to hurt her, both of which we see happen numerous times in the book. Then we have Found Family. Sera truly has found a home and family within the Shadowlands. She even comments about how she sees all of them as family because they see her and accept her. And lastly, pregnancy. we had our suspicions in the A Fire and Flesh that Sera was pregnant, and it is confirmed. And as we know, it's twins. Oh,
Yay!
2 for 1.
2 for 1. So, in terms of every magical twist, similar to other books in the series, it picks up almost immediately after the end of A Fire in the Flesh with a slight twist.
Yeah.
Because the first chapter isn't told in Sera's POV. It's actually told in like a narrator's POV.
Yeah.
Which is very different from what we've seen in any other book in the series so far. It also has the title of the Asher rather than being a numbered chapter like a majority of this book, which makes it similar to A Soul of Ash and Blood as well as Visions of Flesh and Blood, which have titles for every chapter instead of numbers. So we got some theories on this one we're going to talk about later of who we think this narrator might be. So we also see Nyktos feeling antsy about being away from Sera, who has awoke from stasis. He's speaking with Nyktos about how quiet the realms are, which seems like an ominous sign, at least to me.
Yeah.
But it likely
it's
means
quiet, too quiet.
That's how I feel with my children. It's quiet.
Yeah.
Like no good is happening.
Nothing is going on, yeah.
But in this case, Kolis is likely still in stasis, which is good, I guess.
Yeah.
And then we also learn that Nyktos does know what Kolis promised to give Sera to Ken if she turned out not to be Satoria. So I think there's a lot of things that he actually is very much aware of in this book that Sera hasn't told him because Kolis and Ken are assholes and were telling him while he was chained up. So when Ken was doing that, while Nyktos was chained up, Nyktos was somehow able to attack him. So think about like the level of anger that must have happened during that. And Ken is going to die. Like that was very clear in the very beginning of this book. Ken does not survive this book. Nyktos is going to kill him. I was really hoping it was him, although I think Sera also was high on the list. That's not ultimately who does kill Ken, but like that's where I was hoping. Like I feel like this is like a revenge death that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And then we also, like I mentioned, get this impression that Nyktos has a very good idea of almost everything that happened to Sera while she was held captive, even though she hasn't told him about any of it yet and continues to claim that it's nothing.
Which is hard because you can tell like she doesn't want to like address that trauma just yet. But, you know, we're glad she does work through it finally.
Yeah.
So additionally, we find out that Nyktos has previously made an oath to Nyktos about ensuring Kolis pays for what he has done to Nyktos and his family. So primal oaths are bonds. So Nyktos is going to need to deliver on this one at some point. Nyktos also shares that everyone wants to see Sera. They need to see her. The gods in the Shadowlands want to make sure she is the same person that they knew before her ascension and confirm what they all felt, that she is in fact the true primal of life. Nyktos wants Sera to have a bit more time to come to terms with everything that's happened to her, basically, like before she has to meet with everybody. And Nyktos says like he'll ensure that they all get space tonight. Then Nyktos also says, "We bonded to her the moment she was born. We just didn't know." We've got questions about that. Like, does he mean the Drakens from the Shadowlands bonded to her? Or is he talking about, like, all of the Drakens? Because we know that all of the Drakens will eventually bond to Poppy. But clearly, some of these Drakens from the other courts don't seem to support Sera later in the book. But it makes us question exactly who he's talking about here. He also reiterates that his loyalty to Nyktos was earned, making it no less powerful than a Notum. And Sera has earned this bond too, even though she didn't technically have to because of the Notum.
Doesn't that sound very much like Huron?
Yes.
And Castile and Poppy? Mm-hmm.
The same. Mm-hmm.
The same. So chapter 1, we're back in Sera's POV, and that's where we spend almost the entirety of the book, except for a couple chapters at the end. She is, and this we see this throughout the book, waking up, having these nightmares about being held captive by Kolis, and Nyktos has to wake her up from it. And while he tries to get her to open up about these nightmares, she does what I think a lot of people do when they have trauma is like, I don't remember, it was not a big deal, I don't want to talk about it, and tries to like pretend like it's nothing happened. And it's the first
throw it under the rug, like, oh, it's not really existing, which is not how we deal with trauma.
It is not
therapy,
right?
Please.
It is the first of many white lies that she tells Nyktos throughout this book, because she has, and I think a lot of people with trauma can relate to this, especially the type that she has. There's so much shame about what Kolis did to her, even though none of it is her fault, and she shouldn't feel any of that shame whatsoever. I think sometimes a lot of people that are victims do feel that. And Nyktos tries to make Sera comfortable enough about what happened to her, but he doesn't really push her to talk about it. Like, he knows that she needs to do it on her own time, which I think makes sense because he has also a lot of trauma from Kolis as well, some of which he has worked through and a lot of which I don't think he has either.
Yeah.
So the other thing is Sera starts to notice that her eyesight is getting better. And I thought, oh my God, Poppy is going to be so excited when she wakes up and she can see as good as Castile does. Like, that's how so many things in this book, I was like, oh my God, Poppy is going to lose her shit when she finds out she can hear better, when she can see better.
Honestly, I got so jealous. I was like, I wish I could wake up and like see better. Like, I am blind as a bat. I have like the biggest glasses and like I have to wear contacts. I can't see shit in front of me. So I'm like instantly jealous.
Right? She's getting older and her eyesight's getting better. It's usually the opposite.
That's not fair. That's not fair.
No. And then Nyktos is like, your hearing will also get better and you'll be able to understand the Dragons, but it can take some time. And I'm like, hold on a second. We're going to be able to talk to the Dragons telepathically, similar to how like Poppy can talk to the Wolven.
So sick.
So sick, right?
Yeah.
And apparently Ethos was able to do that with the Dragons. And then Sera also starts to have this sense of knowing kicking in when she thinks of something and immediately knows the answers to it. First, I thought was, well, she's a woman. She probably just knew the answer.
Yeah.
I mean,
intuition.
Let's be honest.
Naturally.
Intuition. But there are also some limits to this ability of hers because she doesn't receive answers to things that may directly impact her, which we see happen later in the book. So she can't like be all knowing. None of us are perfect. Yeah. And then personally, I loved when Nyktos calls Sera out on her demand that he find love again after she died. Right. So that was something that she demanded from him in A Fire in the Flesh. And he like begrudgingly agreed to it because she wasn't giving him much of a choice. And he's like, I think you would have haunted my ass if like I did that. And she was like, no, I would have been fine with it. And then she was like, no, I would have haunted you. But I would have done so lovingly. And I'm like, same girl, same.
She would have been like Casper, the friendly ghost, you know?
Like, who's that? Like, what are you doing?
Like, what you doing? What you doing over there?
Do you want to introduce her to me?
Yeah. Oh, she's dead too? Whoopsies. Just kidding. My bad. Yeah, she would have been a jealous ghost. That'd be very bad. So then, actually, speaking of kind of like creepy things out of nowhere happening, literally something ancient comes along and everything descends into darkness. And you're like, at first you think, oh my God, the ancients somehow like were unleashed already, like shit's about to go down. Thankfully, it's not the case yet, but the situation isn't so great either. Turns out the 3 figures on horses that Sera saw at the pillars have now pulled her into the abyss and she has to prove herself worthy. And we're like, oh shit, did not think that was going to happen so quickly. Like, we knew that these guys were going to show up again after we first met them in A Light in the Flame, but they literally like kidnapped her and make her fight this like multi-headed monster, which honestly, I think it's like a Hydra dragon. It's just like you chop off one head and another one comes back. It's like in Hercules, you know?
No, thank you.
Yeah, it's like, no, this is not nice. And also it's like, I just woke up. Like, give me a chance to like collect my bearings. Like, calm down. But once again, we know that Sera's training from Sir Holland has helped her out. And she eventually defeats the monster, proving that this man definitely walked a fine line when it comes to interference with her. But we also could not have anticipated that this monster would then transform into Tavius. And then Sera actually has to like stop herself from giving him like the final death, because that test was all about actually controlling the monster inside of her, not the actual monster she was defeating. And they even said like, well, you didn't kill the monster, but like you hurt it. But she's still found worthy. And you're like, okay. So like she half passed the test? Is this going to happen to Poppy? Right?
Like, man. I have questions. Also, she did so much better than me because I would have killed Tavius.
Yeah, I'd like, been
like, bye.
Yeah, bye. But like, you know, she realized like, oh wait, that's like the final death. And it wasn't even really him.
But wasn't that better than being constantly punished by Nyktos? Isn't that what's happening to him in the abyss? Like, he's getting like torn apart and like...
Yeah. Because Nyktos is like, no, that wasn't really him because I would have known where he was. But anyway, so then Sera gets transported back to the Shadowlands and she finds that Nyktos was under a spell, forcing him and everyone else there to sleep until morning, Which I was kind of like, did she give him like true love's kiss and like wake him up? You know, like he's a sleeping beauty all
Oh,
of a
that would have been
sudden.
sweet.
Kind of reminded me of that. But this also gives Sarah some time to chat with Nyktos while everybody is sleeping. And he knew that the writers were going to come for Sarah, but he kind of just forgot to mention it. Like, oh yeah, this did happen to Ethos too, but whoops, I forgot to tell
Whoops.
you that. And you're just like, dude, come on. But we do learn a lot more from Nyktos here because he does actually seem to be more helpful than normal with some information here. So first, he believes that if Sarah would have died, then Nyktos would have just destroyed the realms because of his pain. So that would not have been good.
No.
He then says that Sarah is uncomfortable getting praise. Yes, but do you blame her though? Like, she didn't get it for most of her life. Like, she barely even got attention half the time. So he's like, you need to accept this praise. Like, we want to praise you. This is going to take a while. And then he says that Ethos could look at a person and know everything about him because of the Videntia. And it becomes stronger as time passes. So the Videntia won't work when it's related to Sera, of course, because of the fucking balance. Great. But then Ethos was able to sense unrest in both the Elysium and the mortal realm. And Ethos would sometimes be guided to like a place, a person, or an object and just couldn't ignore it when it happened. And he does explain that, Ethos did have flaws, and his biggest flaw was his ego, of course. And that's a trait that he shares with Kolis. But Nyktos thankfully does not have that. Like, he's very, very self-aware and like selfless, which is nice. And another flaw that Ethos did have was believing that there is good in all living things, no matter how many times they show you otherwise. Hence why he didn't want to give up on his brother. But Nyktos doesn't believe that Sarah's going to have that same flaw exactly. So her monster might also kind of be her savior in this sense. But this definitely feels like a huge breadcrumb, courtesy of course, our OG Kieran. I mean, these guys just don't know how to tell it to you straight. They just leave breadcrumbs everywhere.
They do. Well, I also am like, why were the Draken not asleep?
Yes.
Or is it just
Right?
Nyktos? Like, I have questions
Yeah,
about this.
exactly. So you say everyone in the castle was under a spell to fall asleep. Like
But you.
literally everyone?
Or was it
But
just
is it because
everyone
he's the
but
first
not the
drag? He's the
Drakens?
first one? Yeah, like
I don't know. He knows things. He knows more things and he won't tell us, and I don't like it.
yeah, right? I'm like, stop. Tell me all the truth, please.
Right? Help a girl out.
Right?
So, almost immediately after Nyktos awakens from the spell, I thought of Disney Descendants when like they get frozen. I think
Yeah.
it's in like the first one where they're like frozen, like at his coronation, and then he like roars like the Prince Beast
I was
does.
like, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought of. Like,
And they're all like, oh, we got it covered, man. You're good. And he's like,
it's
oh,
fine. It's
okay.
over.
What I miss? What I miss?
Right? Because he's panicked, right? Because the last thing he remembers is like going dark and Sarah being taken.
Yeah.
So he's like in primal death mode, which obviously ends up turning both of them on. I mean,
naturally.
what else would you expect? And we get our first
Yes.
spicy scene of the book where they end up having sex. There's a lot of spice in this book. It's very much appreciated. We get some more shadow spice that
Yes.
we'll talk about later.
Mm.
So after they're done, Sarah fills Nyktos in on what happened with the writer. She opens up about the monster that lives inside her, how she struggles with that. And then I think what's interesting and a very true point is Nyktos says that everyone has a little bit of a monster inside them, and he's no better than her. Because I think she puts him up on this pedestal constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is also where Sarah admits how she never wanted to be the primal of life or queen of the gods. And she has no idea how to do any of it. I'm like, well, I mean, who does? Unless you were
Yeah.
raised for that.
Yeah, there's not really a handbook on it.
No.
Like,
And there's never been a
Same.
queen of the gods. So
Yeah.
it's also like
Make
when
it
you
up
become
as
a
you go.
parent for the
Yeah.
first time. Like, yeah, there are handbooks on it, but like no one can prepare you for what that's like.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it, you know?
Exactly. I remember we adopted our first two kids and we were in Bulgaria and we had just taken custody of them and they took us back to this apartment, like our translator, and they're like, okay, we'll see you in 3 days. And then they left. And so it's just my husband and I and our two kids. And he goes, they left us with the kids. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, do they know that? And I was like, what do you mean? Do they know that? He's like, I mean, it's just you and I and the kids. I was like, yeah, we're their parents. And he was like, oh.
It
And
hit
like
him
that was like the moment
hard.
for him. He was like, "Oh," and he was like,
Oh,
"They
it's
don't speak
time.
English," and I was like, It'll be fine. It'll be fine." But that it
Yeah.
was kind of like that moment where like no matter how much you prepare for it, when you're left alone for the first time as a parent with your new kid, no matter how old they are, you kind of have that like, "Oh my God,
Hmm.
it's just I gotta figure this out."
Yeah. And now
It'll be
Sarah's like,
fine.
I'm queen of the gods. Uh, me? Me?
Yeah. All of civilization
Ooh,
rests on your shoulders. It'll be fine.
be fine. Nothing to worry
Okay.
about. It's all good.
And then Nyktos continues to remind her that she's worthy and that she's more than worthy. We see that a lot. And he's been saying that for multiple books now. And he also reminds her that anyone would be nervous given the amount of responsibility that she's feeling. So it is normal.
Yeah.
And then, well, I was going to say, minus someone who has a huge ego, Nyktos. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
Kolis was nervous.
No, he was like, bring it on.
Exactly. That's why I think Nyktos is like the greenest of green flags, is like he's just so wonderful and supportive. It also
Best.
reminds me of that conversation between Poppy and Castile when they found out she was going to be Queen of Atlantia and how much he supported her and reiterated like she was deserving of the role. If she didn't want the role, they could like he would leave Atlantia with her. So
So sweet.
it's so sweet. And then we learn that Sarah is a baby primal right now. And
Oh, baby Primal.
a little baby primal. So I love that. Um, I also thought, can you imagine when Kieran finds out that Poppy is a baby primal? And like the commentary he's likely gonna make about it.
Oh man, his
I'm
jokes are
just a
gonna be
baby.
endless. You're just a
Exactly.
little baby.
Or like Emil. Like I just feel like there is some shit that's gonna be said and I cannot wait. But it also means she's gonna tire more easily after using the essence. She can still kill another primal. Great, but not Kolis. And that's more she's more dangerous now because she doesn't have full control of her powers or like fully understands them yet. And I was like, so she's kind of like a baby dragon that
Yeah,
might shoot
basically.
fire, right? That can't really fly very well, might crash into things, might shoot fire at you, but it should be fine.
Oopsies. Yeah.
Oopsies. And then Niktos reiterates that like Sarah's gonna need to replenish herself by resting, eating, and feeding. And he mentions how he hopes she picks the third option. And I'm like, well, I mean, obviously, don't we all? We want a spicy
Yeah.
buck.
Yes.
And then it's extremely important for her to keep up her strength because she'll be more susceptible to injury than other primals, meaning that like an injury could take her down for a few days or leave scars. So I was like, okay, that's something like very important for us to think about when Poppy wakes up from stasis. And then while she might be strong as a true primal of life, she won't have her full powers yet. And we see that impact her numerous times throughout the book. And then I'm starting to go like, okay, so what is this going to mean for Poppy in the primal of blood and bone? And like Kolos has awoken in that book. So she'll be a baby primal. She's not going to have all of her powers yet. She's going to tire real easily. Like
And you have to fight Kolis eventually.
you have to kill Kolos,
And
not
kill
just
him,
fight
yeah.
him. You're
Yeah,
the only
you have to
one.
destroy him. You're the only one. You're
It'll
the
be
chosen.
fine.
Be fine. Be fine. Be good. No worries. The entire fate of the world and the universe rests on your shoulders. Baby Draken style.
Yeah.
Fun. So, while Nyktos and Sera are discussing what she saw in stasis regarding the ancients, she then suddenly has a massive realization about the RA. They are ancients who didn't go to the ground, meaning that Holland was an ancient. And she's like flipping out in her mind, but then she like has this weird like intuition that she's like, I can't share this information with everyone. So she's kind of like hit with that. She's like, I can't tell Nyktos because her intuition, has given her that sense that like there's going to be grave consequences that are going to occur if she shares this information, even though she doesn't know why. And it's like she does realize that she can tell Nyktos that the ancients who went to ground can never be woken up. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting. So like she can tell some people some things, but other people not. It's like, and again, it's the intuition that's like blocking her or telling her and like guiding her.
But it's
And then
also like the intuition's like OG Kieran too, because it's like it's gonna be real bad if you tell people these things. I can't tell you why or how, but just don't do it.
it's very cryptic, and I can't tell you why. Cool, great,
Right.
love it.
Great.
And additionally, Nyktos then shares that any primal can actually become Unia and Aram if they go too long without feeding, or rage will truly consume them, and then they won't go into stasis. So this does also feel like a very important breadcrumb and makes us wonder if it has something to do with why Sarah eventually goes to sleep. Probably.
It
Like we all need
also
to take a little
now
nap.
now that you just said that, I also wonder if that has something to do with Castile, right? When like when we
Oh.
see him go into bloodlust from not feeding,
Mm-hmm.
or
And that's
like the
happened to him a
rage,
couple times.
yeah, or the rage he felt when Poppy was taken by Commander Jansen and Alistair and was going to be given to the Ascended, and he was like next level crazy.
Yep.
Just throwing it
Yeah.
out there, just adding a little bit
Ooh.
more proof points to my Castile as a primal
Yeah.
theory.
Yeah. I think you got a lot of points on that one. But yeah, little
It's
extra
probably
breadcrumbs on top.
just exactly just a little
Just little,
something for everyone to
little sprinkle.
consider.
Oh, it's like you're the little salt guy. Just like throw little salt breadcrumbs on there. I like it. I approved. So then Sarah also brings up Nyktos up to speed on the whole Callum being Sotoria's sister because he didn't know this yet. And he's just like, wait, what? Wait, what? His sister? Are you what? And there's also an interesting discussion about how Callum is actually an echo of who he and Kolis once were. But the other revenants are now an echo of who Kolis is today. So again, feels like a breadcrumb about Millie and who she is might be tied then to who Isbitch was when Millie was created. So like if you had like some love in your heart, they didn't end up a complete fuck up of a revenant. Maybe.
Maybe. I hope
Who
so.
knows? Yeah. But yeah, it's like Callum is just so different from all the other ones because of how he was created.
So
Interesting.
Nyktos also tries to broach the subject of what he remembers hearing or seeing while he was held captive in the Carcers when Kolis held Sera captive. So he's trying to like get Sera to open up to him about what happened to her by sharing. He's like I may have heard some things or like felt some of your emotions. And he's just kind of like trying to lead her to water, like, hi, and there's some things I heard. So here's what we learned from him. Kolis liked to talk. Shocks no one.
Shocker.
Shocker, right? And he liked to talk to Nyktos while he was conscious and told him about Sera trying to escape. No harm, no foul there. That one seems
It's fine.
fine. Sera tells Nyktos about how she stabbed Kolis after the Siren transferred their essence to her and then Kolis hit her. He did not love that. We did not love that when it happened. And then she tries to explain Kolis's behavior, which I think is something that you see a lot of people who've experienced trauma. They try and they don't necessarily always make excuses for it, but even though some people might feel that way, they try and like explain it away. Well, he did this because I stabbed him. And Nikos is like, well, you stabbed me and I didn't hit you.
Yeah.
Like, huh. And then Sarah believes that Kolis has a better control of his temper than people think. And when I read that, I was like, girl, he does
Oh no.
not.
No.
No, no.
Don't give in to Stockholm syndrome. Like don't.
That's like, it felt like that she had that in this book,
Yeah.
at least the very beginning of it. And Nyktos is like, well, that's because he thought you were Satoria. Like, if he was nicer at all, it's only because of that. And Sarah
Yeah.
does not tell Nyktos about how Kolis used compulsion on her. And he asks her this question, like, what else did he make you do? And then Sarah starts to spiral internally about everything that's happened to her. And so she does, and she does a very nice job of this. She like slightly changes the subject about like, what are we going to do about Kolis? And then
Very
it's like
strategic.
very strategic, slight pivot.
Mhm.
And not too far off the topic, but just stop this conversation. So they've decided to talk about Kolis and what they're going to do because they're going to need to entomb him for a long time, which is going to require a lot of bones of the ancients that they don't have yet. Once again, where do all these ancient bones come from? No one has told us.
Grave digging. Just go searching
That's
for bones, you know?
I know like some of the
They're
other reports have
archaeologists.
some, but like where do you go? Like you don't go to the bone lands and find them.
Do they have a little scanner like at the beach? You're
Like,
like maybe.
how many bones are we talking that we're going to need?
Yeah.
So they also need to figure out more about how the ancients have been entombed for thousands of years because they will likely need to do something similar to Kolis. They're hopeful that the Prima will be able to tell them more about it because she's as old as Kolis and may have actually taken an active role in the entombment. That reminded me a lot of Miss Fulla and how she helped Ilona entomb Malik.
Mm-hmm. We'll
So
have to see. We'll have to
we'll have
see.
to see.
Sarah
Also,
then
write this
also,
shit down, people.
right, yeah,
It'd
it's like,
be
okay,
helpful for future
let's
generations.
hopefully future generations don't have to do that though, you know? So you're like, this is like a one and done thing, right? Oh, whoops. No,
Clearly not.
clearly not. Put it in the handbook. When you become a
Yeah.
primal, here's your handbook. So then Sarah also shares that she wants all of the primals to be involved in decision making, not just her and Nyktos. Power should be shared. Huh, what a crazy concept. Democracy, but better. She also mentions wanting the Draken to be involved and suggests that Nyktos being the voice of the Draken. Great, cool, have a little council going on. This is just another way, honestly, how she's showing that she's going to be different with her reign as queen compared to Kolis or even Ethos. She also has mentioned that moving forward, chosen in the mortal realm should be able to live their life and only enter the temple a year before their ascension. And even then, like they could still choose not to ascend before it happens. So she's talking about giving people choice, like for once in their lives, which is great because she never had a choice. So then we also see Sera trying to take a different approach than her normal behavior, which even Nyktos mentions is attack first and then think about it. So like she's trying to change things. And she's trying to be more thoughtful, of course, before making any rash decisions like storming Delos. Maybe we don't do that just yet. And there are definitely pros and cons to that approach that we will see coming to fruition throughout the book. Part of this stems from her focusing too much on how she thinks a queen should be rather than just trusting herself and trusting her gut. But then, it's baby Draken time. Oh, we get our babies. Our baby Drakens come back into play. Jadis and Reaver are so excited to see Sera and Nyktos. Like, they've been so worried and scared and, just like terrified that they're never going to see them again. And like, literally, they're just like all over them. And Sera starts being able to hear Jadis, which is really sweet. And she's in her Draken form and she's like, did I just hear a little voice? And I think of like Andarna,
I
She's
do
like a
too.
little like, like, you're like, oh,
Mm,
baby Draken.
baby Dragon, we've missed you so
Missed you.
much.
Little bye-byes.
So next up, Eos comes to see Sera and immediately gives her a hug, which is like not Sarah's favorite thing.
Mm-mm.
She's learning how to accept forms of physical touch because prior to Nyktos, no one really touched her. And Eos tries to thank Sera for saving her life, but once again, Sera struggles to accept that praise and even mentions to Eos that she wasn't sure if she wanted to come back. I think this is interesting because Eos says she doesn't remember if her soul had passed on or not, but it doesn't matter because she wasn't ready to die and is grateful that Sera brought her back. But Sera has this feeling that Eos' soul may have already crossed over to Arcadia or was in the process of doing it. So I
Hmm.
feel like there's a reason, I don't know what, but I feel like there's a reason that's in here.
Yeah.
So we also learn from Eos that about the attack and how Ector tried to protect her from Ken before he was killed. Once again, I feel horrible for ever accusing Ector of being a bad guy. Oh, he really
I know.
was a wonderful human.
He's trying. He did
I
his
was so
best.
wrong on that one.
Yeah. Whoops.
Whoopsies. That's when Sera makes an oath to Eos that Ken will be punished, and Eos accepts her oath. So I love that, like, the first oath that she makes as the primal of life is to kill Ken.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes,
You're primal of life and you promise death.
yes.
Cool. But he deserves it. So, yeah.
He so deserves it. And then Eos, who remember was one of Kolis' favorites, tries to talk to Sera about what happened during the time when she was held captive. Because, like, if anyone can relate to some of those horrors, it's Eos. And we learned a couple of things. So Eos and the others heard from Attes that Kolis thought Sera was Satoria, so they knew that. They also heard that, like through the rumor mill, that Sera was sitting beside Kolis on a little pillow, like a pillow pet princess at court. And that likely occurred because he wanted that piece of information to get back to the Shadowlands and other courts. He wanted it very clear that, like, she was choosing to be at his side. Like, no one is that dumb. No one thought that. Right? No one believed she wanted to be with Kolis. Like, so that just made them worry more about her safety. There were also rumors that Sera tried to escape and how Kolis hadn't given anyone permission for the coronation, which everyone knows is a lie. Rain told them that Sera convinced Kolis that freeing him was the best way to handle the situation, but no one else really knows that there was a deal made or anything about that, at least in the Shadowlands. Eos tells Sera that she's sorry for whatever she experienced with Kolis, and she's always available to talk to Sera if she wants to. And then Sera does exactly what Veses did in the previous book, which is nothing happened. Like, that's not true, but it's easier to say that than admit the truth to herself and others. I think that's the hardest part about this situation for her is what we thought happened to her in A Fire in the Flesh is not everything we learned that really happened to her. So she has to like kind of accept that herself before she even talk to anyone about it. And then Eos, I think, does a really good thing because she says, like, I understand the awkwardness, the helplessness, and the choking shame. It's like how Eos felt after she got through it too. And then she tells Sera that no matter what, it wasn't nothing, which is exactly what Sera told Veses in the last book.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to see how Sera can have the perspective when it doesn't involve her trauma and see how trauma is impacting someone else, but when she has to like look upon it herself, it's a lot harder to do.
Yeah. I think Eos here is like a really good therapist for Sera, you know?
Yes.
And like, again, like if you're a reader who has like experienced trauma and you're like seeing, like reading this portion, you're like, I hope you find somebody for yourself to like talk you through it because it's not nothing and you should talk to someone and you can work through it, but definitely, don't disregard it. It's not nothing. So glad that Sera comes through this. So later though, she has a moment where she thinks about just killing all the entombed gods in the Redwoods. Because she's like, I'm just going to get rid of them. Let's just wipe the slate clean. Kill them all. Got a little bit of that monster still inside of her, right? She's like, kill them all. Because, they are likely loyal to Kolis, and she doesn't want to risk them getting out. But she stops herself from freeing them and killing them, thinking that that's something that Kolis would do. And she's like, I don't want to be like him. Then she looks at a guard and immediately knows his name and like suddenly knows things about him. So her powers in that area of just like the intuition basically are growing very, very quickly. And then there's kind of a fairly entertaining moment here where Sera mentions to Nyktos about how she saw a cave cat while she was in stasis. She's like, is that my notiform? She's like, am I going to be a kitty cat? Meow. And he's like, maybe, who knows? He's like, he tells her like it took him about a year before he could fully shift after he ascended. But he does think that she will likely be able to do it sooner, causing her to then ask suddenly like, well, how do I do it? Like, can I do it right now? And he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't do it right now. Not a good time. You got to stop. He's like, but when you are ready for it, all you have to do is just will it. But because her Noda is really strong, he's like, it's going to be really hard to pull yourself out of this when it first happens. So please don't do this right now. But we were thinking now all of a sudden, like, is that why it was so hard for Castile to come out of it after he turned into a cave cat? Because the first time is like, literally it takes over your entire like body and mentality and everything. It's like, whoa, calm down, pump the brakes. Don't do it just yet. But also, I can't wait.
I can't wait either.
I'm like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna do?
I cannot wait. So now it's time for Sera and Nyktos to meet with the other key gods of the Shadowlands, and they bow to her, the first of many times, of which will make her very uncomfortable.
She's like, stop, please.
Stop. Are you going to do this every time I walk in the room? They're like, yes. And she was like, please don't.
Ugh, yeah.
Right? No, thank you. It's like when someone calls me ma'am, I'm like, please, no. They're like, it's a sign of respect. I'm like, I am not a ma'am.
Mm-mm.
Stop it.
Stop it now.
Like, I'm too young to be ma'amed. Stop it.
Yeah.
So there's a couple things that happen while she's with the gods of the Shadowlands. When she touches Rain, he feels an immediate charge. But we don't get the sense that Sera felt it. And there's a couple of references to these charges she feels with certain people. And I'm like, what does it mean? Because it's not brought up like about what that, like why that happens, what's going on with it. So I have some questions about that. Mm-hmm. And then many gods have been arriving to the Shadowlands the last several days from various courts. they'll likely decided to stay in the Shadowlands because most of them don't have a court to return to. Since if you leave your previous court without permission, it's treason and you might be killed.
Oops.
Great.
Oh, can't go back home.
Can't go back home. So Sera, being the wonderful, benevolent leader that she is, she wants everyone that comes to Shadowlands to have food and a home. That feels very much like Atlantia and kind of what we see Castile wanting to do there. And so Belle and Rahar suggest they hunt Kolis down and kill him. And I'm like, yes, why haven't we done that? I'm on Belle's side at this point.
Step 1, let's do that.
Correct. And Sarah's like, she's like the voice of reason. No. And Belle's like, once Kolis is done recovering, he's going to hunt us down and kill us. So why don't we just get ahead of that?
Yeah.
And then Sera shocks everyone when she's like, well, Nyktos will be my king, not her consort. And everyone likes this idea because they all love Nyktos. But I'm also like, wouldn't it be fun if he was her consort? Like, wouldn't that be fun? It would have been for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then Sera argues to everyone that Kolis is not a chaotic villain with no control. Instead, he's fair and more calculated and aware of how tenuous his hold over the realm actually is. And she mentions how he doesn't want a war. And I'm like, okay, I remember him saying that. And then I remember him killing people for fun. I remember him like hurting you. Like, I'm just like, sweetheart, like, no.
Don't be deceived by that. He's a bad guy.
He's a bad dude. Mm-hmm. And then I'm on Nyktos' side here because he's like, Kolis is a burn it all down guy. Like, and everyone's like, yeah, he's like gonna burn the world down. Like, he's never like, who are you talking about? Like his evil twin or like his nice twin maybe, and he's the evil twin.
Yeah, this isn't a Freaky Friday situation. They did not change places. He is still who he is.
Correct. And then Nyktos says the only reason he thinks Sera saw a different side of Kolis was because he thought she was Satoria. And I'm like, yeah, but he was still really fucking mean to Satoria. Like, he hung her by chains. So,
and not in a sexy way.
Not in a sexy, like, tied you to the bed type of way where you get, like, multiple orgasms.
We want
more
that.
of, like, a punishment. So, Nyktos thinks that Kolis is very unpredictable and on the verge of losing power, so he won't be careful who and when he strikes. I'm like, there are some people that I feel like that are like that in the world today. And then Sera tells everyone of their plans to summon all the primals, minus Veses and Ken, to the Shadowlands. It's like a huge risk, but the hope is that people who answer the summons will support them. And I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. And then her other plan is to have this council of primals to rule with the Draken. And everyone's like shocked by this idea. They're like, what do you mean you're not gonna, like, you don't want power? It's a very unnerving thing, I think, to everyone because it's the opposite of what they've seen for like the lifetime of everyone. Yeah. And so, but they're like, no, like, this is a good idea. Like, more people might, get on board. They're more likely to take whatever is decided and make it happen in their courts. I'm like, this is how democracy works. Well, this is how democracy is supposed to work.
Yes. Yeah. So then they discuss how each of the other primals rule in their courts. Because she's like, let's find out. So the two courts Kella and Attes care about the greater good. So they're like, okay, that's great. We got those ones. Awesome. And then they find out that Phanos doesn't really care unless people cause him trouble. Then he's gonna, cause trouble too. And then in Empress's court, they have it's like a bedtime and punishment kind of a thing, and sometimes death if you don't adhere to it. So curfews. Not great.
I thought this was a joke when I first read it. Like, I thought when they were telling this, I was like, oh, they're joking. And then, like, I was like, no shit, they're real. Like, people die if they don't go to bed on time.
Yeah. It's like, you literally are going to get in trouble. And I'm like, ooh. Like, and I thought I was strict on bedtime with my kids. Like, right? Oh, boy, that's real bad. So, okay, not so great there. Mm-mm. And then in Maya's court, there is a giant adult party with murderous tendencies. And at first you're like, okay, adult party, cool. Like, that
sounds like fun.
But not when people like ignore like the children and they're like, no one knows where the kids went because we're too busy being adults. And then like murderous things happen and you're like, ugh,
not great,
not the best. And then in Veses and Ken's court, garbage fires. Complete garbage fires. Just bad. I mean, that makes sense. And then in Bella's court of Cirta, they have about 100 good people in it, maybe. And you're like, okay. The not so great overall. Like, we got some work to do.
Right? Like, this is not looking good.
Yeah, she's like looking to the left of the list and she's like, fuck, you know? And it turns out here, though, that the Primal of Life can take any court, so it can like take over any of the courts, with the energy going to lessen the impact of there being no Primal to rule. So it's kind of like a two-sided thing. So it's like there's two sides, but basically the option here is like, you know what? Kolis didn't even do that. Kolis just like let everybody kind of do their shit. So it's like hard. Like, do I take all of their stuff away from them, but then give it back in a different way? It's complicated. Who knew? Government. Complicated. But also not. Anyway, so we get a mention here of the, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Oniru?
Let's call them Onirus.
Onirus?
Like a kangaroo.
Like a kangaroo. They're the gods of dreams.
Or we can call them the gods of dreams.
Gods of dreams. The dreamy gods. There we go. That works. And they live in Mount Lotho, and there aren't many of them yet. But we do get to meet one of them later in this book. So there are dreamy gods besides the ones that were like, oh my god, you're so dreamy, like dreamy gods. And then they later are discussing entombing Kolis, and they mention how the ancients have been entombed for thousands of years, and releasing them would be very, 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 very bad. So they're like, let's not do that, please. They then decide to use Attes to summon the primals, and Nyktos offers to go speak with him. But Sera wants to go with him, but Nyktos won't let her, because the moment she enters Vathi, her presence will then be felt by kin, which is very logical. And considering that she's still a baby primal, it would not go over well for her. She could get hurt. So Lila then offers to go with Nyktos to make sure both him and Attes behave, because she has a way of making Attes kind of do what she wants, you know, like it's going to work out. It's going to work out in her favor. So she's like, don't worry, I'll go babysit. It's fine. And they're like, okay, that sounds like a good plan. But then Rain also suggests that Sera and Nyktos give a public address to everyone in Lethe, which they agree to do. And it kind of reminds us when Poppy has to speak to the village after the Atlanteans take control, even though like Valen had offered to do it for her. But she knew the importance of doing it as the queen. And so Sarah's like, okay, I guess we're doing this. I don't want to do it, but I guess we're doing it.
So next we see Nyktos take Sera to see the Shadowland Enforcers after she asked a few questions about them. So they have 42,000 troops. That sounds like a lot to me. And then you learn it's like in potatoes in comparison to Vath, which has 3 times that amount split between Kin and Attes. And I was like, cool. And most of their army is gods. I'm like, great.
Cool.
And then Dalos doesn't have an army because the Primal of Life has the armies of all courts. And I'm like, that doesn't sound great. Like for the situation, like, I don't know. I'm like, that doesn't sound good. And Kolis has all the Revenants and the Ascended. And I'm like, okay, so the Revenants who can't die and the Ascended who are already dead.
Oh.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then Sera gets to watch the soldiers bow to her once again. Very uncomfortable seeing this, but it's a little different because Nyktos tells her they're showing that they would go to war for her. And then she quickly corrects Nyktos to say, for us. So I'm like, okay, some good news. The Shadowlands have the most Drakons of any court, and they have Nyktos. And I'm like, yay, that's like one, we gotta win.
We gotta win.
And most Drakons will back down if they come up against Nyktos, except for like 2 Drakons.
Yeah.
And then
Rain,
go figure, right? Rain tries to prepare Sera for her speech to everyone in Lathe, and it reminds me of Princess Diaries when Jo is trying to instruct Mia on what to do and not to do, and she's like annoyed by all of it. Like that's what I imagined in my head, is that he is Jo from Princess Diaries. And she was just like, "Are we done yet?"
She's like, do I have to walk down the aisle? Can we just like shadow step?
Just like skip this?
Skip
Like,
this part. No
I'm
thanks.
not, I don't really care. And then we
Yeah.
get another spicy scene where Sarah goes down Nyktos, and we know we're going to talk about it later.
Mm-hmm. Distracts him very nicely. And then later, this is funny. Sarah feels like she's forgetting something. She's like,
Hmm.
what am I forgetting? And honestly, I was like, girl, I can relate to that. It happens to me all the time where I'm just like, I feel like I'm forgetting to do something. What is it? What am I forgetting? I'm like, I don't know. And she's having this feeling, coming out of stasis. And we did think that immediately, is this related to the two other cave cats that she saw in stasis, but like has completely forgot about? And I'm also like, is she just trying to remember that she hasn't had her period in a long time and you're pregnant? Something important. But in her defense, you know what? She's had a lot going on. So it's okay. It's understandable. But like she does then realize that perhaps she could help further speed up the ability for the Shadowlands to grow crops. She's like, what if I bring back the rivers? She's like, I'm the primal of life. Can't I like water is kind of like a life. Can I just bring it back? So then she immediately wakes up Nyktos and like basically convinces him to like let her go and try it right now. She's like, we gotta go. I got an idea. Let's go see if this works.
This is
And
me. Like when I'm like to my husband, I have this idea, and he's like, "We're gonna do it right now, aren't we?" And I was like, "We are. We are gonna do it right now. We're just." And
yeah.
he's like, "Could we? No, right now."
My husband's like, you got to be in your Bana on this one, don't you? And I'm like, yep. Here we go. We're doing this, and we're not going to stop until it's done, which is basically what Sarah does. So smart. So here's what we learned about her attempts to bring back the rivers and the lakes. So she literally starts off with being able to see the imprint of the Drakens, very similar to what we have seen with Poppy and the Wolven. And the rot smell of lilac has been gone in the Shadowlands since she ascended. So we're like, that's good news. That's promising. Okay. And apparently she finds this kind of disturbing piece of information out that Ethos created some very fucking creepy creatures that never should have existed. Who, basically there's things called like the Lyru, who were mortal by day, wolves by night. And you're like, okay, so far so good. No, they would eat people and basically eat anything that got in their way when they were in this form, including their own children. So it's like, ugh, not so
Thank
good.
you.
Not so good. No, no, no. So it's kind of like, with great power comes great responsibility. So don't make creepy things that eat their own
Yeah.
children, please. But Athos didn't give the dragons a choice when he gave them dual life to then create the Drakens, which is interesting because you would think that he would give choices to those people. But again, he wasn't without flaws.
Yeah, I think he's more flawed than I think we are led to initially believe. I think there's a lot more to his story.
Yeah, yeah. And so then we see Sarah try to bring back the rivers, similar to how she tried to restore life. But at first it doesn't work because she's just like wishing for it to happen. She's like, I wish that this works. Nothing? No? Okay. And then when she starts thinking of like willing it to happen, she's like, I'm willing the water to come. I want it to be. There will be water. There will be life. It starts working. Like water starts like rising up from the ground, like an opposite,
Yeah.
And then she hears a draken in the sky make a low trilling sound after she uses her ether. And it's Ethon and Crawley and another draken. And like they make this low pitched staggering cry. And it really does feel like the draken sounds are starting to kind of mean something. And then again, you see the water coming up. It's taking forever. And then literally geysers of water are like shooting up and erupting. And they're like, we should probably move from this spot right now because it's going to be filled with water. Great. And then all of the grayness of the rot vanishes and everything starts to come to life again. And Nyktos is just like in awe of her. And he's just like, I love you, but I'm in awe of you right now. And it's like, hell yeah, man. That's your woman. That's your girl. She's
That's how every
amazing.
husband should respond when you have a late night project that you're like, we should go do this right now. After it's done, I'm in awe of your ideas.
I'm in awe of you. You're wonderful. You're amazing. Let me show how much I appreciate you.
So, next day, Sarah wakes up feeling nauseous while sleeping. She doesn't think anything of it, nor does she think anything of the slight golden glow to her skin. And I'm like, girl, You're glowing and you're nauseous. Huh.
I know, but I was like, is this pregnancy glow or is this like
Primal of life
primal of
glow.
life glow? Or, a little bit of both because you have life inside you. Extra
That's
glow?
true.
Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's primal life.
Maybe it's because the sun is back because it's no longer gray in the Shadowlands.
Right, yeah. It's called a tan, honey.
Yeah. You're just not pale anymore.
No.
However, we do get another spicy scene where they have sex and Nyktos uses the shadows again, and you know how much we love those.
Ugh,
So good.
kill me. Love
So
it.
good. But unfortunately, the mood changes when Sera realizes that Kolis is awake because there is a connection between the true primal of life and the true primal of death. So she can't like sense him, she can't talk to him, he can't get in her mind really, but she knows he's conscious. And then later she realizes that what she did likely awakened him from stasis, which ties into like Sarah, how Sarah coming to Poppy's aid in the War of Two Queens likely caused Kolis to awaken.
See?
Oopsies. So, then we see Sarah. She's with Reaver. I love Reaver Butt. He's so sweet. And we learn that the Drakens can sense her emotions, similar to how the Wolven can sense Poppy's. The only difference is that old Draken learned how to block it out. Reaver can't do that yet. So he can feel that she's anxious about the upcoming speech in Lathe, which makes then him anxious. However, Jadis is too young to likely feel any of Sarah's emotions yet. So we get this really cute interaction between Reaver and Nyktos and Sera because he groans about them kissing, and Nyktos is like, "You'll understand that one day." And Reaver's like, nope. And Nyktos is like, "I'll be sure to remind you of that day when it happens." And I'm like, this is a breadcrumb. We're gonna see a future love interest for Reaver at some point, and we better get the story, and we better get a spicy scene.
Yes. Yes.
I'm manifesting this. Okay. But prior to going to Lathe, Sarah and Nyktos learn from Rain that the Primal of Death's crown is gone. The crown jewels are gone. So apparently,
This is not where I left them.
this is not where I left them. What happened? I was like, you need better security. But apparently, you can summon the crown. So Kolis tried to summon the Primal of Life crown, but instead received his true crown as the Primal of Death. So I guess he has to keep it. So, however, the Primal of Life crown there is still there. Sarah puts it on her head, and it's like, oh, definitely hers. Magic, glowing, all the things. So the speech at Lathe goes extremely well. The crowd is like overjoyed at the changes that Sarah and Nyktos are planning. It's like exactly what Sarah needs like to see to give her some self-confidence that she can lead the LSAM. Because I think up until this point, like she has felt not confident whatsoever.
Oh, which makes sense.
Yes.
She was not born or raised to be a queen. So she was like,
Correct.
What? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
But she does continue to have nightmares about her time with Kolis. Oof. And Nyktos is often having to like wake her up from those nightmares because she's like screaming no. And every time he asks her if she wants to talk about it, he's like, what happened? Like, tell me. And she's like, nothing. I don't remember. Literally just like is denying everything. And then we see how Sarah realizes that Nyktos doesn't believe her. And she's like, he doesn't believe me when I say it's nothing. It's like, well, no shit, honey. He's your heartmate. He knows when you're lying. Like, you can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to your heartmate. It's not going to happen. We also learned that Sarah hasn't been very hungry lately, which is odd since most primals or people who have been ascended are usually hungrier than ever afterwards. And that's clearly neither here nor there. Like, no one has really any idea yet that she's pregnant. But, we understand. Like, we got nausea, lack of hunger, tops fitting much tighter in the boobie area than they normally have. It's like, it's a, pretty good idea that, you might be pregnant if. So, yeah, understand that one for sure. And then we get some more drama because a portal suddenly opens and a Fate or Aiden shows up because Sarah has been summoned by the Primal of Death, which is Kolis, the true Primal of Death. And we're like, fuck. And she can't deny answering it. She has to go. However, and Ere, we don't know which one, like likely Aiden, will just be with her to ensure it's peaceful. But like, is anything with Kolis ever really peaceful? Like, no. And that man can seriously inflict so much emotional and physical abuse. It's just insane. But there's a twist. Nyktos is not allowed to step in foot in Delos during this meeting. Because apparently Kolis made that like one of the terms. He's like, we're gonna have a meeting, but Nyktos is not allowed to come. He's like, what? Why? That's not fair. But it happens because since he called the meeting, he can make the rules, which is annoying. But Nyktos knows this area. And we've got some questions about what that might mean later. But thank God Nyktos and Sera are able to calm Nyktos down because, again, he's losing his shit. He's like, no, she's not going. She's not allowed. Like, I'm not going to let this happen. They're like, give us 5 minutes. So Sera and Nyktos are given 5 minutes that they use very well. They're like, you know what? Let's get a quick fuck in. Let's just, a little quickie. Little quickie.
Why not?
Why not? Just in case. And you're like, good for you. But it's funny because the Aries like, knock, knock. You guys done yet? 1 more minute? Okay. I'll be right out here waiting. Time to go. They're just taking their time.
Well, and like Aiden and Nyktos know exactly what's happening, and it's just like, for the love, people.
Yeah, right.
It was great to read. I'm like, we could have discussed the future of what we're, of the world, how to handle the situation with Kolis, or we could get naked and fuck. I like the latter option.
Option two. Option two.
Option
Please,
two. Always option two.
Always
so,
option two.
Let's dive into the shitstorm that is Sera being summoned by Kolis, because there's a lot that goes down.
Mm-hmm.
So Holland apparently has warned Aiden about Sera having an assertive personality. She's aggressively assertive. And I was like, Holland, you're supposed to be on Team Sera. Calling a woman aggressively assertive? No. You would never call a man that. Knock it off. I did not like that. So then Aiden expected Nyktos to be the calm and rational one and comments that like Sera was. And I'm like, that does seem odd. And only the true primal of life and true primal of death can see a fate for what they really are. So that's why
his eyes were all like rainbowy.
Mm-hmm. That kaleidoscope, right, that we've seen mentioned in the previous book too. Mm-hmm. Also, if a full primal war breaks out, the ancients in the ground will be disturbed. And I'm like, okay. But not necessarily awaken, but it's like a step in that direction, just like what Kolis and Ethos did. And I'm like, how many steps does it take to awaken the ancients? Is it like how many licks to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Like, can you just fucking tell me? I want to make sure I do it all but the last step.
Right, yeah. Oof.
And then Aiden tells her to, in super helpful language, trust your instincts, and says the following: you are what has been snipping those threads, ending some, weaving new ones. Trust your instincts, for what comes from this if what comes from this meeting is war, it will not end, not until there's blood and bone. Huh. That sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Blood and bone, because we know that a war is going to come. We have a war in this book, and it's kind of like in the War of Two Kings, right? We learned from the Blood and Ash series, that war didn't end. It just went on pause. This war hasn't ended. It's just went on pause until there's blood and bone. And then Sera mentions how shadow stepping makes her nauseous. And Aiden replies, interesting. And I'm like, because Aiden, you know she's pregnant. Help a girl out. Tell a girl something. Don't just be like, interesting. And then I love it when they get to Delos. They're made to wait for someone to like receive them, like just like outside the door. Like it's the typical like asshole
power move. Yeah,
power
right.
Move,
just
right?
Like, can I wait?
And I love her because she's like, fuck this shit, and she like brings the doors down.
Yeah.
And I think she's always like, Aiden, who am I allowed to kill? I'm just not allowed to kill Kolis, correct?
Yeah.
Because when fucking Column shows up and insults Sera numerous times, including mentioning how Kolis is building another cage and how Kolis will give her to Ken, she once again confirms that no violence rule does not apply to everyone. Sera stabs Column with a dagger. So anytime Column dies for like a few minutes or hours, whatever time frame it is, I am here for that. Mm-hmm. And then Aiden confirms that the Revenants kept the balance, but it's a mockery of life. And I'm like, what does that mean? That's very unhelpful, Aiden. The Ascended are a slight improvement on the Revenants because they have souls. So that is something that I am surprised by, because
I did not feel like they had souls.
So does something change in the Blood and Ash world and like the Ascended that Bitch was creating? Do they not have souls? Or do they have souls? Like,
But
what
there's terrible people.
people? I mean, there are people with souls today that are terrible people.
I mean, that's
I
true.
mean,
But also, like, Ian wasn't terrible.
right.
So, it's hard.
Maybe you have a soul and it's just like you have to control your bloodlust. We'll see. Or did something change in this time frame where now the Ascended are different because they're made differently? I have questions. So Sarah has to explain to Aiden how the love, this is like, I laugh so hard at this because I feel like it's like trying to explain to like someone who's insane. She's like, the love that Nyktos feels for me is different than the obsession that Kolis has with Satoria. And he was like, well, Aiden's like, well, he loves
Why?
Satoria. And she was like, you don't understand.
No.
And like, okay,
These are apples and oranges.
correct.
Like, me and Nyktos are not the same as Kolis and Satoria.
I love
He's
Nyktos.
like, huh?
Satoria asked for someone to kill her so she could get away from him. She died the first time running away from him. At what point do you think that she ever loved him?
Right?
It's literally insane. So then Ken, he shows up because why not? Because apparently other primals can come, just not Nyktos. Fucking Kolis. And he is acting like his typical asshole self. And he eventually says enough insulting things that Aiden makes Ken disappear into timeout. And I'm like, could you have used that earlier? Like,
Right,
at what
yes.
point can we use that on Kolis?
Yeah.
So
Can we use it on Callum?
Can we use it on Callum? Like, could you make
instead
him
of-
permanently disappear?
Yeah, right. Just send him somewhere else, please.
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
If only. So then Kolis shows up and has everyone leave except for Sarah, Aiden, and Colum, because Colum and best buds. So Kolis initially believes that Sarah lied about Nyktos not having his cardia, and then he's like, "Oh, you're heartmates," and I'm like, "Why?" Kolis, like, why? The things he latches onto are very odd. I'm sure he's going to be jealous about that him and like Satoria are not heartmates or some nonsense. It also makes me, the way he said it, makes me very concerned for Poppy when he finds out that she's heartmates with Castile. Like, I don't know. There was something about it. He also does mention that he knows that Satoria's soul was inside Sera and that she was not actually Satoria. And then Sarah's like, well, I still have her soul. And he's like, no, my nephew's smarter than that. Like, her soul's in the Star Diamond. And I'm like, why can't Sarah be the smart one? Like, she was the one that figured this shit out.
Yeah. But also, like, is there a mole? Did a mole tell you that? Like, did he actually figure it out? Or did someone else, like, spill that secret?
Probably the fucking fate that gave him the goddamn Star Diamond.
Yeah, probably.
Like, who is that person?
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't they died yet for fucking the balance so much?
Seriously. But then we get a really interesting thing here. Kolis offers a deal where Sera and Nyktos won't be punished. And instead, the others who conspired with them will be punished. And then Kolis will rule as the king and the primal of death, and he gets to have the Star Diamond with Satoria's soul. It's like, I won't hurt you and punish you for disobeying me, but everyone else will, and you're going to give me Satoria.
Who's everyone else? Like, does he mean legitimately everyone else in the Shadowlands? Like, does the Shadowlands, like, just blow up?
He's like, and you're going to give me Satoria. It's like, no.
No.
Why would I agree? No. And now we find out that according to Aiden, these deals are like oaths, and like you cannot break it, or the realm will literally be forced to rectify it. So,
is that worse? Is that worse than the fate rectifying it? Like, if the realm is forced to rectify it, like, is that like, what are we talking?
How much worse can this be? Like, let's find out. And then Aiden's like, well, now it's your turn, Sarah. You get to offer Kolis a deal. And she's like, what? And he's like, well, yeah, those are the rules. Well, thanks for letting us know now. That would have been nice to know sooner, asshole. And she's just like, what the fuck? She's like, I didn't have any time to prepare for this. I had no idea this was coming. Like, this is not fair. So then she's just kind of like, okay, here's my deal. Her deal to Kolis is that he can keep Delos, but he's not allowed to rule. He can remain as the Primal of Death, but he must renounce the throne and not seek any vengeance against anyone who stood against him, and he does not get Satoria's soul. Sure, okay. But Kolis, being Kolis, decides to try and get physically really, really close to her and starts to emotionally abuse her again. And the floor literally starts trembling because Nyktos can feel Sera's emotions and like feel how uncomfortable she is. And like he's like literally making the like entire like world just like freak out basically because he's like, I can't get to her. And then Aiden calls out Kolis for using the essence against Sera because it turns out that the true primal of death can actually root out one's trauma and what they fear and send them back to that moment in the back of their head. And he's like, oh yeah, normally that's reserved for like those who are sentenced to like the abyss, like the worst case scenarios. I'm like, you fucking a-hole. Like you
Right?
were purposefully pulling her back into her most traumatic moments, which is when she was with Kolis, and like trying to manipulate her and like emotionally abuse her. But that's the only good thing that Aiden does here is like call him out. What?
Okay.
Do you think all of her nightmares were Kolis?
Yes,
That's what
and
I
I
immediately
think
thought
Poppy's
of.
are too. Think about it. Because we know that she's Satoria, they're connected. And I think
Holy
that's why
shit.
she kept dreaming of all, like the night her, like Cora and Leopold were attacked
That was
and hearing the
Kolis.
song. That was all Kolis.
How could he do that when he's in stasis though?
Because he can still like find her somehow.
My mind just blew. Oh my God.
I
That's
literally
crazy.
didn't think about that until you started saying that, and I was like, oh my God.
Kolis did that. What a dick.
I think Kolis did that. Fuck. I hate him.
So that's annoying, obviously. But at least Aiden calls him out and was like, Kolis, stop doing that, please. And she's just like, snaps out of it, like, what the fuck? But before leaving, Sera stabs Callum again. Yay!
Yay.
She's just like, oh, one more thing before I go. Huh. Because she's like, do I have to give an answer right now? And he's like, no. Let me kill Callum really quick. So
Here's
then,
a question. If she brings Colin back to life before he like regenerates himself, and then if she kills him again, could he die then?
right? Because you can't bring him back twice. Like,
Or I'm trying to find some technicality for Colin to die.
Is there a loophole?
Where's the loophole? Because that man needs to die. I don't even feel like Draken Blood's gonna kill him.
I don't even. Yeah,
He's probably gonna need the blood from the first Draken and like all kinds of nonsense.
Good thing we have that. So then Sera mentions to Aiden that the balance and fairness doesn't seem to apply to Aiden. It's like, what? This doesn't seem like, what are you talking about? Like, this sucks. And this causes Aiden to then mention how Kolis was always feared as the primal of death while his brother was welcome. So he's like, have some pity for him, you know? And it's like in a millennia of that, you know, seems to have changed him. And only Sera has really been able to see that. It's like, okay, but still, like, no, like yes, bad things happen to you, but you're still a bad person. So I don't like.
No woe is Kolis.
Yeah, exactly. And then Aiden also claims that everything Kolis has ever wanted, like needed, has been kept away from him or eventually taken away. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Like you kind of for like half a second feel bad for Kolis, like half a second, you know? But then you remember all the shitty stuff he's done. And you're like,
I'm also like, the things you wanted didn't want you back. That's called life.
yeah, right? Like, sorry, get over it. Move on.
Exactly.
Deal with rejection.
He cannot at all.
Can't. No.
So when Sera gets back, she feels Nyktos and Nyktos and Rain on like what happened. Nyktos is not thrilled with the deal that Sera offered Kolis. And her reasoning is that like, well, the primal of life should offer a deal even though she didn't really want to offer him one. So this is like, you see Sera go, well, the primal of life should do this. The queen should do this. And I'm like, I understand wanting to be a better person, but it's fucking Kolis.
Yeah.
Like, he already drew a line in the sand a long time ago when he killed his brother. And, like, did horrible things to Satoria, let alone you. Mm-hmm. So, like, we're past
it's like,
that.
No, the real deal should be we destroy you.
Correct.
That's our deal. We destroy you.
May we just send you to the abyss and don't give you the final death? Like,
how about that?
That would be the nicest thing. Mm-hmm. So, their plan is to still continue to summon the primals to gain support at this point. And then when Nyktos and Sera are alone, he brings up if she was herself when she offered that deal, because it doesn't seem like her. Like, he knows that she's not behaving like she normally would. And she keeps thinking about how she needs to be less stabby as a queen. And I'm like, that's one of the things I like most about you.
Yeah.
Like, and so does Nyktos. He likes that she's stabby.
He
Just
likes
like
that
we
she's
like it when...
stabbed first, ask questions later.
Yes. There are times when you need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nyktos also worries that Sera is giving Kolis more credit than he deserves, because the Kolis he knows would burn down the realms before giving up control. And I'm like, yeah, because that's who Kolis is. And Sera's like, but what if he's not? I'm like, he's no.
That's Stockholm Syndrome, honey.
It is so bad. So later, Sera wants Kars to train her, because if you remember back in A Light in the Flame, he like when she wants someone to train her, he's like, I do it. And Nyktos was like, the hell you will.
Yeah.
And so this time she's like, well, Kars will train me, right? And he was like, I don't feel comfortable doing this. And at first, right, it's because Nyktos would like likely lose his shit a little bit if someone is, I don't know, on the mat with Sera. Let's be honest. You can see him go into like very primal of death form very quickly, I can imagine. But the most important reason is because Sera is a primal, like a powerful primal now, and she doesn't know her own strength until Sion points this out to her, and he was like, you could kill Kars and like not mean it. And she was like, oh,
it's like they're not worried about you, they're worried about themselves getting hurt.
Like dead.
Oops.
So he's like, I think that Nyktos needs to work with you on training before like you go with everyone else. Like, he's gonna work with you probably for like a few years before you would even try and like practice fighting against like one of the other gods, let alone Kars.
Yeah.
Poor Kars. Like, I just feel like he's like, how do you tell the queen, I'm sorry, I'm afraid you might kill me?
It's like, I'm scared of you.
Right? But I'm a guard and I'm like supposed to be protecting you. It's very confusing.
Like, she doesn't need any protection. She does not need protection.
No, she's got her own. She's good. And then we get like another Princess Diaries moment, because Rain is trying to talk Sera through all the various things related to the household, like cooking and cleaning, and she's like legitimately falling asleep. And then we learn that Rain carries a medallion of Nyktos's, which allows him to do telepathy. And it makes me very curious if the coin that Perry carries might do the same thing.
Perry?
Right? Because remember, he takes it off that necklace and gives the necklace to Poppy to put Castiel's ring on after we get the finger back. And then he sews that medallion into like his armor because it's very important to him. Yeah. Could it be just like a weird coincidence? Yes. Do I think it is? No.
Do I think someone's up to no good? Yes. So then we have Sera, who tries to summon the Fates, and she specifically asks for Holland to come, but he doesn't show up. So instead, Victor comes up, and we're like, hey, what's up, Victor? We got Victor Ward and the goddess Penelope. Awesome. We learn a couple things from them here. So as we know, Victor is never reborn like the other Victors because he was originally restored by an Ere, so he gets to remember all of his lives prior. So then Sera tries to use her foresight to read Victor, and she goes out and like touches his cheek, and she sees the name Ronan Leslie. And we're all like, who is that? We don't know who that is. Explain. And we find out that when Victor was immortal, he served as a guard to the Queen of Vedena, the Vedena Isles. And the king and queen's marriage was one of convenience. And the king, had previous lovers, and one of them became pregnant. The queen, in her jealousy, of course, ordered the death of the mistress because she was worried that she herself wouldn't be able to produce an heir. And she told Victor to carry out that sentence. But he was like, I don't want to kill a pregnant lady. That just seems wrong. Yeah. And so instead, he warns the woman of the threat and protects her until the baby is born. And then Victor ended up training her since that woman wanted to ensure her own safety. The mistress then snuck into the castle one night, and the next morning, the queen was dead.
Oops.
Oopsies. That training went sideways. My bad. Ugh. And then that mistress eventually becomes the queen of the Vedena Isles. It's like, well, I guess it's okay. Remember, she's pregnant. And so her son, that was initially, illegitimate, now is legitimate, and eventually rules the Vedina Isles until the last king, Leslie Rule, who only had a daughter. And that princess was Sarah's mother. And you're like,
I started screaming at this point.
yeah, you're like, okay, so Sarah's mom is a daughter who came down the line of Ronan. Wait, no.
Yes.
Ronan was
Ronan.
mother.
Yeah.
Yes. The name of Ronan's mother was Seraphina. You're like, wait, what? And she was considered to be the Silver Knight, a warrior queen who fought alongside her husband and people in battle. And you're like, holy shit. So that mistress basically of the king was Seraphina. Her son was Ronan, who was the illegitimate, and made all of this happen. And now like all this is coming down to being Sera. And you're like, oh, wow. At this point, you're like, I need to sit down. You're getting everybody's like timelines and like their family trees. And you're like, oh. And then you're like, fucking Ere, you guys did all this shit.
Right?
This is insane. It's crazy. So because of all of this, Victor was rewarded for his, good thinking and good skills. And he becomes the first Victor, basically, because he saved her and saved Ronan. So they didn't die. And he basically was the one who ensured that a great change would be born. The one who would usher in the great change is going to be born because of Victor and his not wanting to kill a pregnant woman. Go figure. And Holland literally keeps everything from Penelope from that. And like that has to have been so frustrating for her. She's like, you knew all this shit? You know all this shit? And he's like, well, I can't tell you. Can't tell you. And she's like,
I would not be able to handle it.
no.
Like blink twice.
Right? Yeah.
But all I did was I was like, hold on a second. When did all this shit start? This feels like way before Ethos and Kolis.
Yeah.
Like
Right?
how long has this been going on?
It's crazy. It's so crazy.
So we also learned that if the Fates or the Ere break the rules, the very essence of the realms will restore the balance. That's what happened when the Embers of Life were stolen from Ethos. I'm like, that doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
But also I need more information. Holland couldn't answer Sarah's summons because she specifically asked for him and it would be showing her favor. So she needs to in the future just ask for like any fate, then he can answer. And I'm like, information that would have been helpful. Then they discuss the prophecy and how Kolis knows more of it and knew about it before he ever questioned Penelope about it. He was merely questioning her to see if she knew the entire prophecy or not, which she at the time didn't. So I'm like, what kind of fucked up mind games does this man play?
So many. It's just
so
like,
many. Oh. So Penelope says 2 daughters will remake the realms, not Kolis, which we've heard before, right? These 2 daughters will remake the first daughter and the second daughter. And she has seen most of the gods going into stasis for a long time, but it won't happen for quite some time. It'll be like hundreds of years. And I'm like, I need a timeline, people. Like, I need someone to give me a timeline of all this shit that's happening in an anthology chart, like an ancestry chart. Like, I need to know what's happening and who belongs to who. Yeah. And like,
yes,
I might have to create
Can we go on ancestry.com really quick and just like pinpoint these people?
Right?
That'd be great.
And then it's possible that the Primal Kella may know the entire prophecy given her age. Okay? And then we also learn when discussing how to deal with Kolis, Penelope mentions how they could remove the last of the true embers of death from Kolis, transfer them to another primal who could then ascend as the true primal of death. And I'm like, shit, this is when I realized I think that was Ethos's plan all along.
Yeah.
Right? Which we officially learned like later in the book likely was. But I was like, oh, shit, I think this is what happened after like the embers of life were stolen from him. And then Victor suggests, I love Victor because he's kind of like on the theory realm with me too. He's just like, perhaps Ethos's plan all along was to have Satoria/Sera become the true primal of life and Nyktos become the true primal of death after he took the embers from Kolis. And I feel like he's just like, what if this is real? Like, that's how, like when I read, I'm like, whoa, what if? And then that's when Sera realizes the true threat to Kolis right now isn't her, it's Nyktos. And then she tells them, I gotta leave. Bye.
Yeah.
Because like
And you're
that's
like,
when the moment I think she hits her, like where she's like,
he's in trouble.
Nyktos, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
And doesn't even realize it yet.
Yeah. So then Sarah shadow steps for the first time ever, by the way. She's like, I'm just going to will myself here. Like, let's see what happens. And she wants to be with Nyktos and Vathi. And she learns that Nyktos might have punched Attes 4 times, roughly. Mm-hmm. Although he does deserve it, let's be honest. Which is why Nyktos didn't step in to stop it. He's like, yeah, okay, sure. That tracks. And then Sera continues to feel something weird. And then these fucking dog-like creatures start attacking them, courtesy of Ken, of course, because she showed up, right? She's in his territory. And he's like, I know you're here. And normally they would obey Attes, but not this time because they are hunting for Nyktos. Like, literally hunting for him. And so, but they take care of it, like they're fine. After the crazy dog situation is taken care of, Nyktos is turned on. Not shocked. Like, he's like, oh, I'm almost about to die. Like, I'm very turned on right now. And then they get a nice little spicy scene where Nyktos and Sera have sex. And we also learn that Nyktos paints. Or at least, like, he used to paint in the past. And immediately you're like, was he responsible for all those portraits that we saw of the cave cats? And you're like,
That's what I thought of, right? Like, in Atlantia.
Yeah, you're like, oh, we got a little painter here. Which is funny because Sarah's like, my drawings suck. Yours are really good. But that's neither here nor there. So then Nyktos tells Sera that she needs to feed because she used a lot of essence in Vathi and she, shadow stepped and all this stuff. He's like, you're still a baby primal. You need to feed. And of course, he's going to benefit from that. And he tells her that feeding from him is different from what Veses forced him to do. So it's his way of trying to like open up to her and ensuring her that he wants to do this for her. Like, he wants to take care of her. So she does feed from him, which leads to another hot, steamy, sexy scene. So then Sera asks Nyktos if he needs to feed, but he tells her no. Because he can definitely sense the fear she has regarding it because of Kolis and insists that he doesn't need it. You're like, okay, well. But, they did feed. They had some sexy time. We're good. We can move on.
We can move on. Next, Attes shows up in the Shadowlands with Theron, who is one of these gods of dreams.
Yeah, dreamy god.
Dreamy god. In my mind, he looks real scary, though. I don't know why.
No.
So he has invited himself along to the Shadowlands with Attes when he realized what Attes might be up to. He's like that, like the friend that you have. They're like, oh, you're headed here? I'll come with. And you're like, I didn't invite you.
Stop third wheeling.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
So apparently Nyktos forgot to mention the deal that Sera offered Kolis to Attes, probably because he was punching him, which apparently is slightly important because technically they have entered an Irene?
Yeah.
Irene?
Yeah.
Basically, there are rules during this time that prevent them from attacking Kolis and trying to get support from other primals. Oh, most importantly, this only applies to Sera, not Kolis.
So
And I'm
rude.
like, I don't know, Aiden. Could you have told us that? That would have been helpful. But sure, feel free to tell me about how important the balance is.
Right.
The good news is this doesn't apply to Attes because he already pledged his support before this Henri occurred. I'm like, okay. And then Ken shows up out of nowhere demanding payment for the dogs of war that he had attacked all of them. And I'm like, excuse me, what the fuck? You attacked us with your dogs of war. We killed them so we wouldn't die. And now you would like us to give you things in repayment.
No.
Absolutely not. And then he says some horrible things about Sera being Kolis' whore, and Kolis offering Sera to him, causing Nyktos to attack him and go completely batshit crazy. He like punches him through the stomach. He rips out his tongue. He rips out his heart. He bites his heart, but he doesn't actually kill him.
And it's like, well, how does this not kill him? How?
Exactly. How?
You're like,
so afterwards, Nyktos talks to Sera about the things that Ken said, and she opens up like a crumb. She's like, Yeah, I did hear Kolis tell Ken before Ione confirmed that I was Satoria, that, I would be given to him if I wasn't. And Nyktos also shares that Kolis would make him feed from people until they died. So, like, she's sharing a little trauma, he's sharing a little trauma, and if he refused, then he would kill even more people. So sometimes he would have to, feed from someone until they died to save the lives of like 3 other people. And Nyktos also mentions that Kella told him about how Kolis tricked Sera into killing a god from Kella's court. And it's the start, like we see, of her opening up to him. I mean, we got a long way to go, but we're making like some baby progress, baby steps, like the baby Primal she is.
Yeah. Just learning to walk,
She is.
So then Nyktos and Sera go to see Kella, and she mentions how Sera is so full of life.
And I'm like,
how have you guys not figured this out yet? Just like a huge breadcrumb about Sera being pregnant. And it's like, I'm literally just like, come on, guys. Come on. Her boobs are like bigger.
Reaver's like, when Reaver's like, well, that primals have always done this. And then later he's like, you didn't know you were a primal? You were unwise. And I'm like,
you're unwise.
This is what I feel like everyone would say to Sera right now. You didn't know you were pregnant? You were unwise.
Like, is she one of those people who would be on the TV show, I didn't know I was pregnant?
Until the baby came out. Probably.
She's like, where'd that come from? That'd be funny. And then Sera asks Kella about how, this is total shift. She asks how the ancients were entombed for curiosity's sake. Just curious. How did you make this happen? But we do learn a lot from this question. But Sera does not learn that she's pregnant. You're like, come on.
No.
So, first of all, there are at least a dozen entombed ancients in the mortal realm. That's slightly terrifying. Okay.
Did not love knowing that. Did not.
No. Okay, cool. And Celestite has a burnt red sheen and acts like a shield, helping to keep them entombed longer. We're like, okay, cool. But most of the places with that are in the mortal realm. All right, so that makes sense why they're there. Sera then realizes that Oak Ambler is one of those places. So she's like, oh, shit. That's not good.
No.
And being around the Celestite can weaken a primal, so they really shouldn't spend too much time near it. And then they find out that Satoria is the harbinger and the bringer, because where she goes, death and destruction follow. So they're like, okay, that's not great. And Kella then gives Sera a piece of paper with the entire prophecy written down, which is great. We're like, thank you. We would like to have this written down so we don't have to keep remembering it. But she does not dare to speak it. What? Why?
It's like Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Just don't say it. Don't. And it's like, is that why they don't say her name? Is that why they don't say Seraphina? And then Kella confirms that Sera represents the brightest moon, and Nyktos represents the silver beast, and they have become one, which is the first paragraph of the prophecy. And you're like, oh shit, it's real, it's going down. And then Kella and Nyktos always thought that the prophecy was about Sera, Nyktos, and Satoria. It's like, that would have been nice to know, but again, you can't apparently tell people things. And apparently that the rising of the primal of blood and bone will awaken the ancients. Again, we don't want to awaken the ancients though. That's bad. No. That's bad. But so now we know, like, oh shit, Poppy is primal of blood and bone. What the hell is about to go down with those ancients? So then the next day, so I mean, like, literally, like, we're processing this and we're like, oh no. This is bad. This is really, really bad. Yikes. So then the next day, Sera talks to Attes about everything, and we learn a couple of little extra tidbits here. She tells him about the oath that she swore about Kin, who is going to face justice, and Attes is like, yeah, I understand. That seems legit, justifiable. And then he confirms that he has the star somewhere safe, and Attes also confirms that Ethos killed Satoria the second time because she asked him to. You're like, oh, very interesting. Like,
that's how horrible it was, like, being with Kolis is.
Yeah, she's like, please kill me. Please, I don't want to be here anymore. Please get rid of me. So it's like, dude, Kolis, people run away from you. Take a hint, dude.
Take a hint. So we fast forward to Fortnite. Thank you, Taylor Swift, for telling me that was 14 days. Nyktos is at the pillars. He's bound to them until he's done. And then fucking Veses shows up at the gate wanting to see Nyktos.
Yeah.
I mean, as one can imagine, there are insults thrown. There's fighting between Veses and Sera. Sera wants to kill her, but multiple other people talk her out of it. They're like, Sera, we don't want to do this right now.
Just a little bit. Just a little.
Just a little.
A little death. Want to make her hurt.
Just a little bit. Instead, she tears into her throat using her fangs and spits blood on her face. So, yeah, that might work.
That'll do.
But before she leaves, she claims, Veses does, that she wanted Nyktos to take the deal offered by Kolis. Otherwise, they would regret doing so. So I'm like, hold on. When we learn later what ends up happening, right, in the mortal realm, all I think is, Veses, did you really think you were being helpful here? Or that they would want to talk to you? Like, after everything?
They don't like you.
They don't like you. No one likes you. Kolis doesn't even like you.
That's got to be rough, though. You know?
I feel like she needs to get with
That's all
Ken.
the sympathy she gets. Yeah, right?
Her and Ken
just go.
Just go. So afterwards, Rain comes to see Sera because he may have overheard Veses alluding to how Sera became Kolis' whore to save Rain's life. Not great. And he, I think, gives her some really good advice. He strongly encourages her to tell Nyktos about the deal she made, because even if nothing happened, someone is going to try and weaponize that information against Nyktos. I think that was a really good advice. Like, I don't need to know any of the details, but you need to tell him, because if he hears this from someone else, it's not going to go well for him.
Yeah.
So later, Sera has a hard time sleeping because of everything going on in her head. Same girl, same. So ultimately, she talks to Nyktos about the impacts on the mortal realm if a primal war breaks out, causing her to decide, I'd like to go see my sister. And he's like, when? Tomorrow. He's like, okay. Once again, love that. And she is having a hard time sleeping. And so he decides that he's just going to fuck her so hard that she'll fall asleep, because orgasms make you fall asleep because it's science.
I mean, it's science. It's been proven time and time again.
Correct.
I mean, Poppy learned that lesson. So.
Right? So I love that happened. And she falls asleep in seconds. So just throwing that out there as a little piece of information. If you're ever tired of sleeping, there's one way to fix that problem. But before we leave for Lasagna, Nyktos gives Sera a dagger made from the bones of the ancients that he had Attes make for him. And I'm like, this feels like a dagger-sized breadcrumb that is going to play a role moving forward.
So then let's talk about what happens when Sera and Nyktos go to Lasagna. So the guards legit freak out when they realize Sera is a god. And it's like, okay, first of all, guys, she's not just a god. Imagine if they found out who she really, really was. They would lose their shit. Just pee their pants.
Yeah.
So Sera is able to heal one of the gods by touching him, similar to what we've seen Poppy do. And Nyktos notices that the crest is elm and sword, meaning true life. And I'm just like, what? And Sera assumes, it's just a coincidence, right? It's definitely not tied to me becoming the true primal of life. And Nyktos is like, yeah, no, I don't believe in coincidences. And honestly, neither do I now in this book. So I'm like,
same.
The Ere, the fate, the Victor stuff, I'm like, oh my God. And it also apparently has a symbol representing life and death, which is interesting since this bloodline births a mortal who becomes the true primal of life and the mate of a primal of death. And you're like, huh. Very, very interesting here.
It was in front of us the entire time.
It was there. We just didn't see it. It's like, you're primal. Come on, you're unwise. Come on. And that's when Sera also realizes that the Muriel crest started with Roderick Muriel, who was the one who became the king of Lasagna after the deal with Ethos. And it's like, oh my God. You guys literally lined this whole thing up. This is crazy. And then suddenly Sera smells stale lilacs, which we all know is not a good sign. Something bad's going to happen. It's fucking Callum. Not only is it just fucking Callum, he is sitting there at the dinner table with her whole family. And you're like, it is not good. So then Sarah's like, boom, I'm going to temporarily kill you really quick because I don't trust you. Everybody freaks out at the table. They're like, what? He was just, what? Why did you kill him? It's like, let me explain. And then Nyktos shows up in his primal of death form, because that's going to help the situation, right? Like, come on. But, he felt Sera's anger, and he's like, I'm not going to let this one go. I can go there easily. Like, here I come. But Nyktos does, like, the most epic shit ever. He just full-on tells Sera's mother off, and, like, literally is like, you know what? You guys fuck off. Like, Sera is the true primal of life. Basically revealing who she is to everyone. Like, you need to bow down to her, like, now. And they're all like, oh my God. Okay. And Nyktos then leaves and takes Callum with him. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you. Please discard this trash. Even though we know he still lives. And we're just like, damn it.
He better die sometime soon.
God, yeah.
Huh. So Ezra and Sera's mother assumed that Sera killed the Primal of Death and was dead when the rot disappeared. And like, okay, so shouldn't you be overjoyed at seeing her alive then when she walked into the room?
Like, your first thing should be like, oh my God, you're alive. And also like, thank you. Like, Correct. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Not like what you did.
Yeah.
And then they share that Callum arrived 2 days ago, ate dinners with them, but that was pretty much it. He first arrived a few years after Sera was born. He knew about the deal. That's why they listened to him about how to kill a primal. I'm like, okay. And then Callum told them that Sera succeeded, which is why the rot was lifted. And I think it's really interesting that the word choice that they use is Sera succeeded. Not that Callum does not tell them that Sera succeeded in killing the Primal of Death. Just that Sera succeeded. And I'm like,
yeah.
What does that mean, Callum?
Mm-hmm.
And when he wasn't at the castle, he spent his time at the Cliffs of Sara, which is where we know that Satoria died the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So Sera says, call my name if Callum ever comes back, or if you need me for any reason. Like, I will hear it, I will come.
Mm-hmm.
And then she is, once again, trying to prepare them for what could happen if a primal war breaks out. I feel like she's like, okay, not to freak you out, but there might be a war coming. If it comes, it might be bad here. Like, and Ezra's like, when you say bad, just like earthquakes, tsunamis, fire. I mean, like I'm sure it'll be fine.
But,
And Ezra's like, okay, well, I can prepare for that. Can I tell other people? And Nyktos is like, yeah. Sera, if you want them to, they can. She's like, yes, please tell other kingdoms. Sounds great. And then Ezra, I feel like she's like eyeing Nyktos, and she's like, are you a dragon? Like, you're not a god. And he's like, not a god. She's like, what are you? And he was like, I'm a dragon. And then like she finds out he's the first dragon. So she has lots of questions. She's very Poppy-like, where like she's got a lot of questions. And then Sera's mom asks to speak with her privately while Ezra continues to like hound Nyktos about dragon-related things. And Sera goes with her mom, and they have like this awkward conversation where her mom like quasi apologizes for everything, kind of, sort of. I had really strong feelings about this one because Sera is like, her mom's whole thing was, I named you Seraphina because like I knew you would have to be strong, tenacious, and vicious to succeed at what you had to do because of the deal. And Sera is starting to like, thinking back to like the scene that she saw during her ascension, she's starting to like feel bad for her mom, I think, and like willing to give her mom another chance. And I'm like, I get that, but like also, how many horrible things does your mom have to do to you until you say like, enough is enough?
Right. Yeah, it's like she's also like the definition of like a narcissistic asshole.
Exactly.
In a motherly way. And it's like,
yes,
it's worse.
And does she only care about this now because now you're the true primal of life? Like, you have something that she might want access to? I don't know. I did not love this part. So they agree to spend more time the next time Sera visits. We'll hang out together, test the waters, I guess. And I'm like, I guess that's a step in the right direction of repairing this relationship. But I'm also like, I'm on Nyktos' side. I would have sent her to like the abyss a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like that one.
No, maybe that boundary needs to stay in place.
Yes. Like, you saw her being whipped by Tavius and you didn't do anything, and then you begged for his life. Absolutely not.
It's like, no. It's bad. Like, that's not something that getting your nails done and having a nice lunch and tea is gonna like fix. No. But then we get back to the Shadowlands, and Callum, was being a little bit mouthy, So Nyktos removed his head. Yay. And it's going to take him a while basically to come back from that. So while he is regrowing a head, we learn a couple of interesting things. Drake and fire will work on a fresh revenant, but the older ones require the fire of the gods. Or Drake and blood has to be ingested for them to die for good. We're like, okay, can we make this happen? Like, let's get some. Let's go.
Like, you have some now. Why can't we use it on him now?
Right? Yeah. It's like, well, you know what? I guess he has to ingest it, and he doesn't have a head right now, so he can't really
I mean, touche.
I don't know. I guess that's the reason, but still, they could try it to see what happens. Experiment. And then Sera has a feeling that a primal or ancient ingesting Drake and blood does something else entirely. She's like, I don't know what this is, but I have a feeling something else might happen. So maybe we hold off on that just yet. I'm like, okay, is that a breadcrumb? What are we going to get? I don't even know what's after that. What's after this? I don't know. So then Drake and blood needs to be bottled up in basalt, which is a type of shadow stone, so it doesn't burn through the bottle. We had questions about that earlier, so now we got that answer, which is nice. And apparently there's a ton of basalt in the Undying Hills. And then we find out that because of the Arini, they can't keep Callum forever, and they can't kill him. Boo on that. The balance ruins everything once again. We're like,
yep.
So then they remove the paint from Callum's face, and they realize he looks like Sera. It's like legit, like they could be cousins. Like, it's nuts. So another breadcrumb, perhaps, for something later in the book. And then Nyktos suggests that Sera might be of the same bloodline as Satoria. Come on, Drakens. Like, he knows so much more than he lets on. It's like, could you please just... And then Callum claims he wanted to visit Sera's mother because he finds her interesting. And Kolis supposedly hadn't asked him to go. You're like, okay. But again, Callum, I don't trust you. I don't trust anything you're going to do. He then mentions wanting to see her once more, and then mentions how he won't be making many more visits to the mortal realm. We're like, why? Why is this?
Why call?
It's because, it's because he knows what's going to happen. Like, Callum just, knows shit. And of course, he's not going to tell them anything, because why would he? But he does claim that Kolis has been in a mood lately. Well, no shit. And
when you say lately, do you mean his entire life?
Yeah, it's lately as in the past millennia, because yeah, agreed. When has he not been in a mood? I mean, I guess when he thought Sera was Satoria. Maybe then. But then speaking of Satoria, Callum's like, by the way, I want my sister's soul. Please give it to me. Hand it over. Give it to me. And he looks away when Sera asks why he wants her stripped of her choice. He's like, you mean you want her to be stripped of her choice, free will, and to be sexually assaulted? That's one way to love your sister. And he's just like, I'm not going to make eye contact with you on this. And it's like, that's because you know it's wrong. Don't do that to your sister. And he pretends like he didn't tell Sera's mom how to kill a primal. And it's like, he's like, I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, liar. Yes, you did. And why? Why did you do this, Callum?
So next, Sera is awoken by the feeling that something is tremendously wrong, but isn't sure where or what it is yet. And then Nyktos starts to feel it from the abyss. Sera wants to go with them. And once again, he's like, you can't. And then he explains, it would be too hard on you. You have the embers of life. Every soul there would be drawn to you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that would be bad.
That's true.
It would be
That's true.
Really overwhelming. So he heads to the abyss, leaving Sera behind. Unfortunately, something is also wrong at the House of Hades because the Seika have left the abyss. Souls weren't trying to leave the abyss, which is what we originally thought was happening. Instead, the ones that delved out punishments in the abyss have left and were attacking the House of Hades. That sounds worse.
Oh, that's great. Not good. This seems like this might be a trap.
Correct. Sera tries to use her ether to kill them. It doesn't work. Instead, they have to fight them off and cut off their heads. That is the way for most things to die, we've learned, except for fucking revenants. Yeah. Thankfully, Nyktos shows up. He takes out the Sakaya. Turns out the true primal of death, Kolis, summoned them because he's strengthening his defenses. And so 75% of them have left. Great. Cool. So after the fighting, Sera uses her ether to help heal the injured, which unsurprisingly turns Nyktos on again, and we get another spicy scene.
Yeah, he loves it.
It reminded me of when in The Crown of Gilded Bones, when Poppy brings the girl back to life, the child that was hit by like the wagon. Then like Castile takes her to like a garden like in town and like has sex with her. Like that's exactly what I thought.
Like anybody could walk by and he's like, I was so turned on and in awe of you. I need to be in you.
Like right now.
Right now. You're like,
So,
okay.
however, things take an unexpected turn when Nyktos grazes her shoulder with his fangs. And that causes her to like mentally go back into like that gold cage, thinking about what Kolis did to her. And then she mentions the smell of stale lilacs. And Nyktos is like, we should talk about what happened. But Sarah's like, it's nothing. And then Nyktos says he knows. He knows what Kolis is capable of, what he did to others in those cages. That's when Sera realizes that Kolis also likely did something to Nyktos and told him about what happened between them. So while Nyktos was chained up and everything, Kolis was likely running his mouth. And Nyktos tries again to get her to open up and reiterates that what Kolis did to her wasn't nothing. And he knows that a part of Sera still feels like she's in that cage. Which, it's very true.
Yeah. It's just, oh, I hate that little PTSD moment for her. And you're like, and again, like all of this is too much for Sera. And she shifts into a cave cat. You're like, oh my God. Oh my God. Nyktos is like, open the gates. Open the gates. She needs to go run. She needs to be free. Let her be. And he follows behind her to make sure that she's safe. But he very much like keeps the distance. Like I need to let her do what she needs, which is so sweet, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And after she's just been like running around for hours, like literally stretching her legs and getting like the fresh air that she needs, Nyktos himself shifts back to his human form and urges her to come back to him. Very similar to what we saw with Castile and Kieran. Yeah. And she's able to do it. And you're like, okay. We learned that a Nota can respond to emotions or a potential threat. And it must have been really severe for her to shift, which, again, Sera doesn't want to talk about any of it. And Nyktos tells her, like, nothing will ever change about how I feel about you. You can tell me, like, when you're ready, but I'm here for you. And then we see Sera kind of start to process everything that has happened in her life, which is a lot. Like, she didn't just have trauma from what Kolis did. No. She was taught at a young age by a mistress of the Jade how to seduce and manipulate men. She was also taught how to pleasure herself and others when she didn't want to learn. She then also spent years with the threat of Tavius, like literally like hanging over her all the time and like physically hurting her. And then there's everything that happened with Kolis. It's just so much more than one thing that has happened to her. And she's finally starting to come to terms with it. And how like extensive that trauma is for her, and how she's like literally never dealt with it head on and healed from it. She's like, I need to fix this. Yeah. Like in order for this to work, I need to fix this. And I'm like, yes, that is the first step. If you want to rule the world, you need to rule yourself by like cleansing and fixing and being okay. Because it's okay to not be okay.
Yes, it is. So next, Sera has a conversation with Theron, and we learn a couple things. So Mycella's father, which is Nyktos' mother, was one of these dream gods. He was one of the oldest. Mycella could not enter dreams, but she could read emotions and control them if she wished.
Really cool.
Dream, which is very cool. You did not want to fuck with her. The dream god blood is strong and known to skip a generation. And I was like, I've got questions.
Yeah, you're like, okay. Who's it skipping?
Yeah. So if Sera and Nyktos were to have a child, it's quite possible that child would have the same abilities as Nyktos or even those of his grandfather. We're still trying to figure out why Malek left on bad terms.
Yeah.
So I wonder if maybe he has it, or it made me go, is this something that Poppy might have that we haven't seen yet?
Mm-hmm. Because she can read emotions.
She can read emotions, but can she control them? We don't think so. I don't know. And then Theron shares that he's had trouble sleeping because he keeps getting pulled into Sera's dreams. Like, I feel like this is like he's like, it's been hard for me to sleep. And she was like, oh, do you need like some more blankets, like a pillow? And he was like, I need you to deal with your shit. Because I keep getting pulled in your dreams. I don't want to do that. And she was like, oh. And then we learned that Kolis dreams about finding Satoria and losing her over and over again. And I'm like, that's not a dream. That's real life. She doesn't want you. And that Theron's scars came from Kolis because he was in Kolis's dreams when Kolis found him. And then Kolis thought Theron was the one responsible for his dreams. And I'm like, no, you're not dreaming. It's reality. So we learned that Theron can put someone in a waking nightmare if he can get his hands on them, which is like, Sarah's like, I have an idea about Kolis. And I'm like, I have an idea about Kolis too. I have some other ideas of what you could do to call him.
Yes.
Just putting it out there.
Let's extend that to Colin, please. Yes.
I will make a list. So then Sera has another conversation with Eos about what happened during her time with Kolis. I love, because like in a couple other conversations, like Sera brings up, well, there was this one trunk of glass cocks.
She's like, did you have that in yours?
And Eos was like, uh-huh. Sarah's like, I didn't have to use them. And Eos seems like surprised by that, I think. Sarah's like, probably because I made one into a weapon.
It's like, I used it in a different way.
Correct. But Sera does start to open up to Eos a little bit, which is like another good step in like the path towards healing. It also causes her to realize that Nyktos hasn't been as cold, like physically, which means he's been feeding from someone. And then she has this like light bulb moment to know that it's Rain.
Mm-hmm.
And so she immediately is like, I'm going to go talk to Rain about this. And he reiterates, like, it's not your fault. Like, you should not feel bad about this. He goes, a long time ago, Nyktos refused to feed because of how Kolis used to make him feed until he killed. That sounds just like a steal. And at one time, he was so weak that he almost went into stasis from refusing to feed. Nyktos only started feeding normally again once Sera came back into his life. And he points out that if she doesn't think that's Nyktos' fault for struggling to feed because of what happened to him with Kolis, then why would she think any of this is her fault? And like, Sarah's like, that's like a great point. Like, I think it's like this light bulb moment where Sarah's like, yes, I need to go talk to Nyktos. And then she hears a scream.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, we were just having a really good therapy session and we're going to interrupt it right now. It's like, oh, fuck.
It's like back-to-back therapy. She just had therapy with Eos. She has therapy with Rain. Like, we are making substantial progress on our trauma, only for more fucking trauma to occur to us.
Yes. It's like once we rebuild, it just goes crashing back down. We're like, oh no.
Correct.
Oh no. Not good. Because as it turns out, all hell is breaking loose right now. Because Nyktos was pulled to the pillars because there are just too many souls to be judged by them. It's just like, it's fucking chaos. And that's when Sera knows the screams are actually coming from Lasagna. And you're like, oh no, not good. So we find out there's a huge shit storm going on there. Sera shadow steps into Carsodonia, even though Nyktos and Rain warn her not to do it. And she just sees death everywhere throughout the entire kingdom. She goes to Wayfair Castle. She knew what she was going to find, but I don't think she knew like to the extent that she was going to find it. Bodies are literally impaled to the walls of the castle, just like she had seen on the rise outside of the House of Hades. Her mother, Ezra, Marisol, all dead. Like, including everyone else in the castle, like the servants, like everyone's dead. There's no one alive. They're all gone. And she's crying like literally like blood tears. And then it appears to be raining blood. Because remember, she's the primal of life and she's very affected by all this. And that's when she realized that Callum knew this was coming. That's why he wanted one more visit. She's just like, and she's like, why? She doesn't understand though why Ezra didn't call out her name. Like she warned her sister. It's like, please call my name. Like if anything happens, like there was death. Why couldn't you call me? But then fucking Kin shows up and makes it clear that Kolis has come to a decision regarding their deal. And now she has her answer. So it was not good. Not good. And Empress is also with him. Sera starts to lose her shit, rightfully so, given what has happened, of course. The ether builds up within her, and the entire walls of Wayfair Castle turn to dust. Just gone. And you're like, oh, she mad. Oh, she mad. Which, yes. And she takes out the Cimmerian that is with Kin and Empress. And it's also interesting that she mentions the ancient instinct fueled me when this all starts happening. And you're like, oh, I don't know if that's good. That's not, when you talk about the ancients, that's not good. And before she can attack Kin, he shadow steps back to the Elysium. And I'm like, you fucking coward. But Empress, not so lucky. Sera attacks him and drinks all of his blood before asserting that he will not pass into Arcadia and he will just cease to exist. And she condemns him to the final death. And you're like, yay! But after Empress dies, what's like left of his essence shudders, causing further devastation in the mortal realm since there wasn't a god who could ascend to take his place. And you're like, uh-oh, wait.
Not great.
Maybe that didn't work out the way I hoped it would. And then Thanos then shows up to push like the tsunami that's coming in because like shit's hitting the fan. He's like, let me try and help with this. Like, oh my God, what's going on?
Isn't that interesting though? Think about that for a second. Yeah. Supposedly like he flooded that entire town because they weren't doing these games associated to him. What if he didn't really do that? What if Kolis made him do that?
Right. Yes, Kolis had a lot of influence.
He did, because why would he try and stop the tsunami?
Yeah. Isn't he like that? But yeah. But again, like he didn't call the tsunami, but did he?
I think he stopped it from like destroying the realm, like the city. So it feels like he's trying to be he's a very interesting character.
Yeah. Yeah. He's shades of gray. That's for sure.
Very much so.
And then we start to see thousands of blood trees pop up where Empress was killed. Blood of a god. And this becomes what we know in the Blood and Ash world as the Blood Forest. So this whole time we were like, is that Poppy? Like, who made the Blood Forest? Empress.
Sera. Empress.
Yeah.
It was a team effort. Empress died.
Team effort. Mm-hmm.
So blood trees could live.
Yes, exactly. So Poppy could frolic through them.
Yes. And we could get spicy scenes of them.
Yay.
So Sera heads to Dalos because she knows Kolis is behind what happened to her family in Lasagna. She kills any guards in her path, even the ones who say they don't want to fight her. However, Kolis isn't in Dalos. So she's just tearing down the walls where Kolis has the Ascended, so they all die from the sunlight. That was probably one of my favorite parts.
Yeah.
Yes. So, exactly. Like, why haven't we thought of this sooner? So a group of Chosen are there. They're scared of her. And I'm like, well, you're probably covered in blood acting like a mad woman. I think legitimately
like
anyone would be scared of you.
Just like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not great.
Not great, no.
So at this point, she realizes she's now completed an act of vengeance and starts to struggle with what she's done. And we see her battle these thoughts throughout the rest of the book. I think we'll probably see her battle them in the next book too. So she returns to the mortal realm, uses her ether to bring back people who were buried by the destruction that she caused from killing Empress. When she's bringing these people back to life, she has forgotten that another life will be taken because there's a cost to it because of the fucking balance. So then she goes to bring back her mother, Ezra, Marisol, and everyone else killed at Wayfarer Castle. She's like taking them down from like the walls. And Sir Holland just like appears and he stops her and reminds her that just because she can doesn't mean she should. And I'm like, I like the stab first, think later. Like bring back to life, fuck the consequences, right? Like I like this. And he's like, no. And then he reminds her, Marisol can't be brought back to life because she's already done that once. And everyone else you bring back will cause another life to be forfeited in its place. And I'm thinking at this moment, fuck the balance. And then Sera yells, fuck the balance at Holland. And I'm like, yes, finally.
Fuck the balance.
Exactly. And then that's when she also realizes that Holland knew this could happen. And he gives some like bullshit excuse about how it's one of the many threads that could happen. And I'm like, that doesn't absolve you from the fact that you knew about this. You walk a fine line of interference for a very long time. You did not walk that line this time.
No.
You could have been helpful.
Yeah.
And then Holland also helps Sera understand that Ezra didn't call her name because she never would have knowingly endangered Sera. And I was like, damn it, Ezra really did love Sera. Which is like...
Good sister.
It was a good sister. I mean, she could have been a better sister, but she really, I think, came around in the latter books. And then
Mhm.
Holland also tells Sera that she needs to go to Lotho and ascend to God because otherwise the energy from Empress's death will continue to just go throughout the realms, apparently like circle back to the mortal
Yeah,
realms. And all
it's
I
just
thought
gonna
was,
go around.
just keep
You're like,
going. And I'm
can we
like,
catch it?
so I in the corporate world hated when someone would say, let's circle back on that. This is another reference to it'll circle back. I'm like, nothing good happens from circling back. Nothing. So hate that. And then Holland makes it clear that Sera needs to do what is right for the realms. And Sera responds, as I would at the time, I don't give a fuck about the realms. Like, why does this woman have to sacrifice legitimately everything for the greater good?
Right.
And Kolis gets to be the nightmare that he is, and it's fine.
Yeah.
And then we see Holland start to change into his ancient form. And I'm like, this is not good.
I don't like this. I don't like how this looks.
No. And then he kind of does a little bit of, the ghosts of Christmas Past and basically takes Sera on a trip around the kingdom to see the destruction she's caused and the people who remain alive. And he's like, are you willing to sacrifice this small child for Ezra? I'm like, do you have to be an asshole about it? Her family just died.
Yeah.
So then she starts to feel the consequences of her actions, for what her reaction to Kolis caused, and she destroys the majority of the blood trees, only leaving a small amount behind that refuse to be destroyed. And then she believes she's becoming a true monster, and then she breaks down and starts sobbing. And then Attes shows up to take her to Lotho to ascend to God. And I have a question. How did he know to come get her? I think Rain and others told him what was going on. But he plays a very prominent role in the third book and the fourth book in this series. It's just another little pin on my theory board of where his soul might be. I'm just putting it out there.
Very convenient that he shows up in these places.
Very convenient. And he knows where they're at. He's very helpful. Yeah.
So we get to Lotho, and it's not good. Things are not great there. There appears to be a huge storm. So when we say shit hit the fan, it hit the fan and reverberated everywhere. It's bad. So Sera finds Penelope and asks her if she will take on the role of Primal of the court, which Penelope agrees, even though she mentions that there are other gods more deserving than her. And she points out, she's like, you know what? I know you. Better devil I know than one I don't know, And she's like, I want it to be you. So Sera ascends Penelope, and then Holland shows up to take Penelope with him to basically the rest of everything while she recovers from her ascension. It's like, all right, you need to go lay down because this is what happens. But before Holland goes, they can sense Kin is coming. Of course. And Holland tells Sera, don't fight because you will not win. And I'm like, how is that not a thread that you're breaking here? He sounds afraid. I'm like you're revealing a bit here though, buddy.
But you couldn't reveal it earlier about her family all dying.
Right? It's what how do you choose what you're gonna reveal and what you're not gonna reveal? Not. But it's fine. It's fine. We will all just live in this mayhem, I guess. So basically, what happens next is this. One of Kin's Drakens, Thrax, attacks Sera and Attes. Point of clarification, though, I didn't think that a Draken could attack a Primal unless their Primal was attacked. So technicality here is Sera didn't attack Kin. So why did that happen?
I've got questions about that.
But then, while we're trying to ponder all this, Kolis shows up, of course, and uses his ether to take down the Draken in Empress's court, similar to what we saw Veses do in the War of Two Queens. You're like, fuck.
This is also when I realized that Veses in the War of Two Queens is not Veses.
Right? Yeah, you're like, wait.
They're different people.
Oh.
We thought they were the same person. They're not.
Yeah, they're different people.
Well, I guess unless Veses can come back to life, but they're different people, I think.
Yeah. It's not
very
good,
confusing. It's not good.
Yeah. So then Kolis starts singing, and you're like, what? What? and it causes gods to literally jump off the palace to their deaths. So he's like a siren in that sense of like, I'm going to make you die by my song. And you're like, oh, shit. So then unexpectedly, Kolis here makes a comment about how if things were different, then Sera would have sat at his right hand and would have been his most vicious ally. We're like, what? No, what do you mean by that? Like, I know you're delusional and you thought Satoria loved you, but do you really think that like Sera would have ever done that? No. Like, is there more going on in your crazy crave brain than we think? Like, probably. Like, that's never gonna happen. That was never gonna happen. Kolis then tells Sera that she is just like him because she has now murdered in cold blood without thought or care. And like here he's definitely preying on her emotions because he knows deep down like she's struggling with that, how she's responded to his actions and she doesn't want to be a monster. And we also know that he like can prey on people's trauma. So he's doing that. He also makes it very clear that he was the one who entered Wayfair Castle and like physically like by hand, like killed everyone there. Like, he's like, oh, yeah, I killed everybody and I loved it. And I'm going to do it again. And Sera and Kolis continue to fight. But it's not going well for Sera, given how powerful Kolis is. And she's a baby primal. And she's already used a lot of her energy, like, bringing everybody back. And then, coming over and, like, fighting. And it's just like, oh, no, this is not going to go well for you.
Well, that's when she realizes the entire thing was a trap set by Kolis, because Nyktos can't be beside her since he's tied to the pillars, but he can still feel her emotions. So like Nyktos is like distraught right now. He also rambles on, because he does a lot of this, about how if Sera gave him Satoria, then he would have been happy for the first time in his life. And I'm like, but Satoria would not be. Yeah. She would rather be trapped in the Star Diamond, like not alive, than with you.
Yeah.
And then Sera gives Kolis a little dose of his own medicine and brings up about how he loved Ethos and vice versa, and how Kolis killed him by accident, mentioning that Kolis seemed to look relieved when Sera drove the ancient bone through his chest. And then Kolis becomes more disgusting than he already is and makes a comment about how he is owed sex with Sera. And it wouldn't be betraying Satoria since he doesn't desire Sera. It would just be pain, submission, and humiliation. And I'm like, what in your fucked up mind has caused you to think these things? No.
We don't want that.
No one wants that except for Veses. Go find her.
She's into it.
She's very into a lot of weird shit.
Yeah.
So Kolis also claims that Sera will give him the star, and then he will keep Sera alive until Satoria matures, followed by draining Sera of her blood and him rising as the Primal of Ash and Blood, or Blood and Ash, which is a new Primal name. And I'm like, where did this come from? We're gonna talk more about this.
We just go around making up names,
We do. I think I have a theory tied to this. But it's a new primal name that we have not heard. So, and I'm like, why are you not saying the Primal of Blood and Bone, which you were convinced you were going to be in the last book, or the Primal of Life and Death that you also want to be? Why is there this new name? So, he also wants Nyktos to die, making him suffer, feeling everything that Sera has to go through for years. And then Victor Ward shows up out of nowhere and cuts Kolis' head off, almost completely off. Not all the way, because if you cut it all the way off, then he'd be dead. But there's like a tiny little bit hanging, so he's not dead. So he disappears. He's severely injured.
A loose tooth that's just like hanging by a thread. And you're like,
legitimately. Ugh. And Sera like wants to throw up at it, once again not realizing sign of pregnancy.
Yeah.
But great news, Kolis is going to have to go into stasis to recover from a very severe injury from getting his head almost cut off. Theron also shows up. Rain sent him because Theron can enter Lotho without causing a stir because he's from that court, and he has been using that opportunity to settle some scores while he's there. And I'm like, I would like to learn more about you and the scores that you were settling.
Yes, don't blame you.
He does share that Kolis eradicated all of these gods of dreams except for him. He's the only one left, which I think is going to be important later. Attes shows back up after fighting Ken, who ran away like the coward that he is, and even left his wounded Draken behind. And I'm like, I didn't think King could be worse, but like he is. He's a piece of shit. And then Etis shadow steps Sera back to the House of Hades. Like once again, Etis is like the number two for her.
So then once we're back in the Shadowlands, Sera acts like a queen and discusses the security of the Shadowlands and how to protect Penelope and her court while she is resting, and also gives orders to destroy any ships that enter the Lhasa Sea who don't swear allegiance to her and Nyktos. Rightfully so. Go girl. Rain cautions her, though, that there will be no turning back after this. And that's when she informs everyone that Kolis already crossed that line and shares exactly what happened in Lasagna. She's like, oh no, we're doing this. The line has been demolished and I am going like full throttle. And then they also have Bele go to her court in Sirta and send additional forces to back them up to ensure it doesn't fall. So then when Nyktos shows up, he notices that Sera's injured and her body hasn't healed itself, which it should have done by now. Sera then tells Nyktos and Attes how many deaths she caused, and she just breaks down. She's just like, and she shifts into her cave cat form, because that's what happens. And Nyktos literally has to like hold her down for like hours. Like she cannot come out of it. She's so distraught. And he reminds her that Nyktos can feel everything that's happening to her, but like he can't leave. So he's like, you need to get control of yourself because like you're not helping anyone in this form right now, which is brave to say to a woman. Control your emotions. I'm like, calm down. But you
even
know,
braver when she's a cave cat.
Yeah, it's like, dude, she's in her nodent form. Like you're probably gonna get your head cut off or bit off.
Yeah.
But you know, Draken can handle it, I guess.
But if you bite a Draken, will you die?
Ooh, good point. The blood.
Yeah.
So good thing he's strong. And then during this time, Sera starts to realize that Holland hadn't necessarily trained her to be a cold killer. He trained her to be compassionate, like even in death. However, keeping all of her rage and sorrow built up for years has now caused this fury, panic, and desperation that has just like exploded by everything that she felt today. You're like, I get it. It's tough. It's tough. We can't all turn into cave cats though. So you gotta work through it. I mean, if only. So then once Nyktos is able to come back from the pillars, Sera shifts after hearing his voice. And he just loses his shit now because he's like getting caught up on everything and sees how badly Kolis has injured Sera. But he's able to keep himself in check because he's just holding her, helping her wash away all of the blood on her body. And, you know, it's a sweet, comforting, caring moment, even though, like, obviously there's emotional trauma. And Sera and Nyktos talk about what she did. And Nyktos says, like, he understands, like, what she did, why she did it, because he's like, I would have done the same if I lost you. Like, and he mentions, he's like, he can feel her remorse. He can feel everything she's feeling. And it's choking him. So it must be suffocating for her. And all of her remorse, he says, will always be there, which of course is punishment enough. Mm-hmm. And that she needs to then accept what she did and learn from it, which is such a true, like, moment for all of us, you know? Yeah. Like, if you did something bad, you need to accept it, forgive yourself, learn from it, don't do it again. Ideally. But this is also like a moment where we see Sera realizing that she just needs to be herself and not who she thinks a queen should be. And Nyktos literally is like, that's all he ever wanted her to be. He's like, I will love you no matter what. And all I want you to be is be yourself. And you're like, heartmates. Heartmates. And soulmates.
So later we see Sera finally open up to Nyktos about everything that's happened to her in the past. And there's a long list of it. She shares that she was always felt like she was failing everyone, including herself, that she was a blank canvas taught to act and behave like someone else and not have feelings. I think a lot of women that were raised in the 80s and 90s might be able to relate to that. She didn't want to attend the training on seduction, but she couldn't refuse it. I have a lot of questions at what age she was sent to this.
Yeah, exactly.
We know it was for years.
This is like backwards grooming. It's backwards grooming.
Yes. Like, oh, I don't love it.
No.
And then she talks to Nyktos and mentions how she took too much of the sleeping draft on purpose and regretted it as soon as she woke up. And then, like, he then feels horrible because he used to say in the first book, and even in A Light in the Flame, about how she didn't have any regard for her life. And he's like, I never would have said that if I would have known this. So I'm always like, you need to be careful with your words because you never know what people have went through. And then she tells him how she knows he's been feeding from rain. And while it's okay that he's doing it, she's angry with herself about it because it was something Kolis took from her, from them. And then she tells him about being hung by the chains because of Veses. He did not take that well. She talks about the deal she made with Kolis to free Rain, how Kolis wanted to sleep with her, and at the time she didn't know that he only meant sleep next to her. And I think Nyktos has, like, one of the best reactions to that was, you agree to that under duress. That's not true consent. Like, true consent you give someone without any other stipulations or pressure. Like, just because you consent to something because someone has put you in a very difficult situation and it's pressuring you to do it does not mean that's real consent. It's just another way of manipulating and enforcing the situation. And then she talks about how the first time Kolis fed from her and how painful it was, about how the second time he fed from her and how it was gentle because he thought she was Satoria. And then this is also where she shares that Kolis put his hands inside her when he was feeding from her, which is not something that we read about in A Fire in the Flesh. Right?
Yucky.
So it's super yucky. And I think what's interesting is, you know, we have to remember, like, this is all told in her POV. So we always talk about unreliable narrators, and she was not ready to admit to herself that that's what happened. And that's why we didn't learn about it in that book.
Yeah.
And we learn about it here. And then she talks about Tavis and the comments that Ken made, like, all of her trauma is coming out now and how she hates all the people involved in it. And I feel like that is true about how trauma starts to manifest. I think once you start to open the dam that's been holding all the trauma back and you, like, let a little bit of the trauma water out, it starts to, like, flow. And at some point, there's, like, for anyone who's experienced, like, really severe trauma in the past, like, I know that's been the case for me, like, once it starts flowing, like, all of it needs to come out.
Yeah. It becomes like a fire hydrant. You're just like, it just goes. You're like, okay, we're doing this.
So, and then she breaks down when Nyktos holds her and for everything that, like, she's experienced, like, the pain she feels from the death of her family, how the realms will never be the same because of her. Like, that's a lot to put on someone.
Yeah.
And to put on herself. And then later, she makes him promise that he will stop her if she seeks vengeance because she won't be able to live with herself if it happens again. And he doesn't like it, but he makes that oath to her. And I was like, this is like deja vu because this is exactly what Poppy asked Kieran to do.
Mm-hmm. And that's, you start to wonder, like, is that why she ends up going into stasis?
Sleep. Yes.
Yeah. To sleep. Because he's like, I can't let her do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She won't survive it.
Mm-hmm. So then Sera and Nyktos also discuss their next steps, which include ascending a primal for every court but Veses. Because there's not anyone there to be trusted. And Sera will just be like, I'm going to take over that court because don't trust anyone there. So then they entomb Kolis and Oak Ambler, which doesn't necessarily, like, fulfill the prophecy. And they're like, he could awaken, but it's the best option. Because Sera wants Satoria to have a choice to live a life without the threat of Kolis. So we're like, okay, like, we'll take what we can get at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Like, his head is hanging on by a thread. We have limited time to do this. Let's put him here. And then Sera and Nyktos share their plans with Attes, Nyktos, and the rest of the core group of gods in the Shadowlands, who all agree, yeah, that's a smart idea. We should do that. Afterwards, Sera and Nyktos talk to Attes to make it clear that Ken will not survive this. They're like, yeah, we promised that he needs to die, so let's make that happen. And then Attes is like, yeah, I already knew that was coming. This makes sense. And then he suggests that they ascend Layla to take Ken's place because she has the right temperament and she is ready. But then Attes drops a bomb about how he plans to rest after all this is done. He's like, okay, I'm going to aid in this transition and then I'm going to go into stasis myself, and Theon can cover everything while I'm gone. And you're like, oh, okay, great. Well, I'm glad you have a plan. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing with this very important information, like, afterwards. So Sera then tells Attes that they will not be using Satoria's soul and that she will have a choice. And he responds, that is everything. You're like, okay. Like, why? And he finally admits he loved her. He's like, knew it. He says, I have always known she would never be mine. I was okay with that. I could live with it. All I've ever wanted was for her to have peace, and I guess that's the purest kind of love. I'm like, that's just so sweet. It sounds very familiar. Pretty sure we heard him, not him, maybe him. We heard something very similar from Castile about Poppy and a soul of ash and blood. So, is that what happened? Did he also get reborn?
We got questions and theories.
He is going to sleep. How convenient.
How convenient. So, finally, Sera remembers seeing the 2 smaller cave cats while she was in stasis and realizes, she's like, it's been a while since I had my period. And then she starts freaking out about the possibility of being pregnant. And then she has a vision of 2 little boys that look just like Nyktos. And he comes upon her when she's freaking out, and she's like, doesn't want to tell him until she knows for sure. So she does like another little white lie. She's like, oh, I had a nightmare. And he was like, oh, are you? And he's, oh, it's not about Kolis. I don't remember what it was, but it's not about that, I swear. And I'm like, girl, we're just like digging the hole a little deeper. So she summons the primals. She compels Veses and Ken to attend. While in the back of her mind, she's like, I might be pregnant. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So.
Oh boy.
A lot happens. So all the primals minus Kolis are there. Unsurprisingly, Veses and Ken are not pleased. When are they pleased? Never, it feels like. Rain starts to tell everyone to bow, and Sera cuts him off, saying she doesn't expect any of them to bow to her yet. She even removes her crown. And she also tells
That's
everyone
such a boss move.
It is.
Like, we'll deal with this later. Got shit to do.
Yes. And she tells everyone that Nyktos should be the true primal of life, not because of who his father is, but because Nyktos has earned the loyalty through blood and sacrifice, which is very true. And she continues that Kolis has earned loyalty through manipulations and fear. He's not worthy of loyalty. Also true. And then Phanos, this is like just when I'm like, you might not be an asshole. It's like, that's blasphemous. And argues with Sera about Satoria. And I'm like, once again, why are we having to tell another man that Kolis has a sick, twisted obsession with Satoria and that it's not okay? Like,
yeah.
Do you go here?
No, he doesn't.
So,
he doesn't.
He doesn't, clearly. He has no idea, apparently, how to treat people. Veses calls Sera out on killing Empress, and Sera's like, yeah, I lost control. I shouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Which, like, everyone's like, oh, God, you admit when you made a mistake?
Yeah, like,
and
what?
She's like, I regret
I'm not used to this.
She's like, I regret killing him. Not because I killed him, but because the impact it had on the innocent. Like, he still needed to go. And then Sera says she understands how what they did over the last however many years since Kolis took the Embers of Life was to survive Kolis. And she hopes they haven't forgotten who hasn't survived him. So I think she's given them an opportunity to go, I know you've made horrible choices because you didn't have the ability to do true consent for what was happening. You had to do things to survive. So
But not everybody was that lucky.
No.
Yeah. And then Phanos makes it clear that Sera has not earned their loyalty. And Sera responds by saying that she's earned the loyalty of Nyktos and those who serve him. And then Rain and others chime in agreement. They're like, oh, yeah, no, yep, we're loyal to her. And then Sera tells everyone how Kolis had planned to take the embers of life from her and ascend as the primal of life and death. And only Veses and Kin don't look surprised by this. It's like, yeah, of course you guys would know. And it's mentioned about how this would literally awaken the ancients. And some primals are like, no, he wouldn't do that. Kolis wouldn't risk that. Like, he would, what? That's crazy talk. And Kin just like smirks. Like he just, yeah, of course he would. Come on. And Sera says that she will rule with Nyktos as king by her side and how the other primals would rule with them. You know, democracy, a council. And they also talk about how they will not rule like Kolis and they will not lash out against other primals just because they don't like their opinions. Which we're like, yeah, this is good. This is a good, healthy step forward in the right direction. And Nyktos makes it clear that all of the primals will have a choice to stand with them, except for Veses and Ken. Because Veses literally is bitching about everything and just leaves. And it's like, KY, why do we even care about you? We don't give a shit about you. And Sera makes it clear to Ken that he will die for what he's done because real change would never happen with him at their side. Thanos admits everyone has been surviving under Kolis' rule, but Kolis will eventually seek vengeance against anyone who stands against him, or even considers it. So Thanos is scared, of course, and won't support Nyktos or Sera, but he also doesn't want to support Kolis either. He's like, can I be Switzerland? Is there another option here? I just don't want to be involved. I want to hang out in my ocean and not be bothered by anybody. And then we do have this sweet moment where Attes, Bella, Penelope, and Maya swear an oath to Nyktos and Sera. But shockingly enough, Kella cannot do it because the fates made her swear a blood oath to Kolis that actually prevents her from ever using her court against him due to the role that she played in helping Ethos with Satoria's soul. You're like, fucking balance. Even though she wants to.
How is that the balance?
Right? That's just so rude. She's like, I want to, but I can't. Literally already bound by another blood oath right now. And then she drops another bomb because she plans to move on to Arcadia once her affairs are in order and Ione can ascend to take her place so her court can help fight against Kolis. You're like, well, at least she had a backup plan.
Yeah.
It sucks that, she has to, literally sacrifice herself to do all this. But in a way, she's still technically picking them, you know?
Yeah.
She's like, I can't say that I'm picking you.
But also
I can pick you. And then Penelope privately tells Sera that Holland mourns with her about the loss of everyone at Wayfair Castle because he, was there with her and he didn't want this to happen, but had no choice.
Yeah.
He could not say anything, could not do anything. And it hurt him just as much. If not more, honestly, because of that,
Well, yeah, and he was probably, knew them for a very long time, just as Sera did.
Mm-hmm.
So after the meeting, Sera finds Eos to help determine if she's pregnant. And we're right. She's pregnant. It's twins. She's likely 10 to 12 weeks pregnant, meaning that they were probably conceived one of the first times that Nyktos and Sera had sex. And then
Which is crazy to me. I'm like, wait, it's
this
only
all
10, 12 weeks?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's this feels like it's been years. But
correct.
Not.
Can you imagine what kind of shit goes down in years?
God.
No wonder some of these primals turn crazy.
Yeah.
Oh. So Eos reiterates her support to Sera no matter what decision Sera makes about the pregnancy. Because she knows there's a lot to consider given the fact that a primal war is about to unfold. Yeah. So then Sera decides that she needs to think, keep in mind, all of these primals are still at her house. And she's like, I'm going to go downstairs to the pool and just digest this news. And she goes between feeling scared shitless and excited, which I feel like every parent, new parent feels. But then she also knows that she loves these children already. And then Nyktos shows up and he sees her floating in her dress in the pool. And he literally goes to grab her because he thinks that she's drowning.
Yeah.
She's not. And then she just blurts out, I'm pregnant. And he's like,
I'm fine. I'm just pregnant.
And he's like, wait, what? So he's really shocked and trying to process this information. But you were immortal. He's trying to figure things out. And then he's absolutely overjoyed because he never thought this was something he could have. And then we get another spicy scene where they have sex.
Yes. Which is interesting because you would think, well, sometimes when you first get pregnant, the guy will be like, is it safe? Should I do this to you? Is it, am I going to poke the baby? You know, like, but that they don't have that here. And there's a pretty entertaining scene where Kai, the healer who comes to check out Sera with her pregnancy, let's just say the Nyktos is even more protective of her than normal. Um, so we find out a couple of interesting things because they're like, what happens when a primal is pregnant?
Oh,
So it turns out the essence will serve the needs of the babies first and then Sarah, which is why her bruises and other injuries just haven't healed yet. So we're like, honestly, I was glad to hear about that because I was worried. I'm like,
yeah.
there's a lot of shit that could happen for a miscarriage, like in a human. A primal, I'm like, you're fighting and losing blood and all this shit. I'm like, you gonna be okay? Is
Yeah.
this your uterus okay? I don't know. And it turns out she will be more weakened and take more time to recover than normal because of this. And the biggest threat to her is really in the third trimester, and she should not use the essence during this time unless absolutely necessary. But until then, Nyktos can feed from her until the third trimester, so that's good. But she probably shouldn't shift into her nota form, which makes
Boo.
sense. Which, yeah, sucks, but also like, yeah, that'd be kind of hard, I think, on your body to be like, I'm pregnant as a human and now I'm pregnant as a cat and now I'm pregnant back to a human again. Like, there's a lot of probably transitions that could not, like, the babies are gonna come out with like half ears, half tail, and like half human, like, they got stuck in transition, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that'd be bad. And then they also say that it's wise if she gives birth in the mortal realm since she was born immortal. So now we find out why. That's good. And then it's both kind of like a bit of a tradition and some evidence that it's easier on those who do. So you're like, okay. And that if Sarah is injured at all, then Kai should come to look at her like immediately. So then Nyktos and Sera argue about what's going to be allowed to do now that she's pregnant. And poor Nyktos is caught in the middle because, you know what, last thing you want to do is tell a pregnant woman what she can't do because she's going to fight you.
Right.
And add it on top of that, it's Sarah who will fight somebody anyway, and you're like, this is not going to go well. But they eventually come to an agreement that Sarah can continue to fight like she normally does, but she should not be foolish and just rush into battles, which would endanger her and the babies. And this is also definitely going to make it harder for Nyktos to do his job. Because, yeah, he's like, I don't want to be away from you. Like, how? No, I need to protect you and my babies. But it's super important to note that Sarah thinks to herself that if her children were ever threatened or harmed, then Nyktos would not be able to stop her and would have to put her in the ground. Like, literally, she would lose her shit. And he's like, and he made an oath.
Yep.
So then I'm starting to
the first
wonder.
book.
So then I'm starting to wonder, I'm like, does she give birth while in stasis?
I don't think so.
Like, does she go to ground before that? You know what I mean? Like, you're like, huh. But
I don't think so.
like you said, it's the whole like 51st dates thing, you know? Like, you wake up and you're like, oh, I had a baby.
Two of them.
Two. Huh. Oh. Oh, no.
Okay. So next, Nyktos and Sera go to see Kella, and here's what we learned. Kella knew that Sera was pregnant. Makes sense. Kella shares more about the prophecy, including that when Ethos spoke with Delphi, it was Etris Balfour, the last oracle that was still alive. And that's why Ethos placed those embers in Satoria's soul in Sera's bloodline. It was not random at all. The prophecy had begun to fulfill itself before Satoria was born because it started with the Silver Knight, who Victor saved and Satoria is named after. Or Sera is named after.
Sarah.
So Ethos was convinced the primal of blood and bone would be Satoria, which it might still be.
Yes.
Ethos was trying to circumvent the prophecy. He hoped Satoria would be reborn, stop Kolis, and allow Nyktos to rise the true primal of death, because he thought the prophecy meant Nyktos and Satoria coming together in love. Missed that one a little bit, Ethos.
Yeah.
Since it didn't work as planned, clearly, the Fates must have gotten involved by preventing Satoria from being reborn in Sera's bloodline. Kella reiterates how important it is for Satoria to be freed as soon as it's safe to do so, so as soon as Kolis is entombed. Sera doesn't understand why the ancients dreamed of a mortal becoming so powerful since the prophecy happened long before what Kolis did to her. That is a great question, Sera. I don't either.
I don't either. It's like I am
Which
also
tells me
just confused.
confused. But I think it goes back to what Miss Willa said about how these events are ever changing and visions of flesh and blood. I do think that how we think about the prophecy and how others have thought about it constantly changes based on new information. It can have multiple meanings.
Mm-hmm.
So Kella dies by her choice.
Yeah.
Iona ascends. She's the new primal of the court. She can swear the oath. All is better. Sera then feels Kolis waking up again, but he's not as strong as before, which means they need to get their shit together. They need to put their plan in motion. We've got to get Kolis entombed.
Yeah. So then Nyktos, Sera, and Nyktos shadow step quickly to Veses' court, and there is tons of fighting between them and the guards until they get to Veses, of course. And then finally Sera kills Veses. Ding dong, the bitch is dead. Finally, thank you so much. Sera says, thank you, I'll take that. I am now taking over your court. It's mine. Swear allegiance to myself. Great. Sera feels Kolis fully awakened now. And that starts this process of Sera ascending Scion. That way, if Phanos dies, then Scion will take over. So we're like, okay, that's a good plan. That's a good plan. But let's talk about there's complete chaos that happens right around now. Phanos and his ships are going from his court when Nyktos, Sera, and Nyktos show up. And you're like, uh-oh. And Sera realizes that Kin has launched an attack on Attes. They shadow stepped into Vathi, where all hell is breaking out. And you're like, oh my god, there is so much shadow stepping happening here. Attes and Kin are locked in a battle against each other with swords and ether and just like craziness. And then Phanos attacked Maya's court, and she died. Meaning that now Ios is going to ascend as the primal at her place. And you're like, oh my god. And then Attes yells to Sera to ascend Layla now because he's about to kill Kin. He's like, you need to do this shit now. I'm going to kill this bastard. Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
So after that battle, Sera, Nyktos, Attes, and other Shadowland gods meet to discuss next steps. I feel like it's like, and let's, on the agenda item.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Please.
Next, please. Veses dead. Ken dead.
Check.
Okay. So Sera summons a fate, and she does not make a specific request. So Holland shows up. He makes a very interesting comment to Attes, alluding to how there is much RA are allowed to do, which Attes is well aware of. I'm like, what does that mean? Attes, what have you been talking about to the fates about in terms of the balance?
What are you doing? Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? I think that's how his soul gets into Castile. Okay, so Sera then asks Holland to set up a meeting with Kolis in the Bonelands as soon as possible. Everyone's favorite meeting invite. Location, the Bonelands. Time, ASAP.
Now.
And the purpose is agenda item, discuss a truce. But they do not want a fate to moderate this meeting, which means Holland's like, you know that means violence can occur. And she's like, mm-hmm.
Yeah. There are no rules.
I feel there are no rules. I feel like Holland's like, I see where you're going with this. I get you. So the Nyktos asks Holland why Aiden didn't mention the Henri to Sera. And Holland admits that Aiden should have. And I'm like, can we trust Aiden? Like, I don't... One, how many fates are there? Who can we trust? I need names. Because I have questions. Holland also shares that some of the other fates, we know there's more than just Holland and Aiden, were not pleased with his intention to answer Sera's summons. But if it was wrong, then the realm would have prevented him from doing so. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen. Holland doesn't know why one of the fates might want the ancients awakened, but theoretically thinks that some could view the awakening as an inevitable and seek to control it. Some could believe that it's the only way to save the realms. And I'm just like, none of this sounds good.
No.
And then Nyktos questions if some of the fates want things to return to what it first was, which is very plausible considering the fates are the ancients, even though Nyktos doesn't know this.
Yeah.
And Sarah's like, yeah, they probably do. Holland also makes a comment about those who do not seek power remain uncorrupted by it. And he mentions that he does not fear corruption from Sera because she doesn't want power she never has.
That's why they say the people who make the best managers are the ones who don't want to be managers.
Yep.
It's like, I don't
Because
want
they're
the
not out
power.
for themselves.
Yeah.
And then she says, in fact, her entire bloodline will never hunger for power, and it was chosen. Which means, think about this. Poppy will never hunger for power, which we've seen in everything that she's done, right? She doesn't want power. We also learn that if a fate crosses the line of interfering, so like steps a little too far over it, not the fine line that Holland likes to walk, then the essence would use the ether inside them to destroy them. Kaboom. Okay. Interesting. And then Holland drops another big bomb, which I feel like is going to come up later, because I don't know otherwise why we were told it. Ethos is at Mycella's side because of fate intervened because of their love for her. And Sera just instinctively knows that doing so led this fate to be destroyed. It's like this fate made this decision to save Mycella and allow her soul to be with Ethos, and the fate died because of it.
Just like,
whoa,
beautifully tragic.
Yes.
It's like, I will literally destroy myself so that this wrong can be righted. Which is a lot, honestly, how Kella is, you know?
Like, it is.
So then next, Sera and Attes talk while he is sitting at Layla's side while she sleeps after being ascended as Primal, because she needs sleep. Attes is pretty closed off for the rest of the book now after killing his brother, which is tough. He knows he has to do it, but it's still extremely difficult for him. He also shares that he will go into stasis even if Sotoria chooses to be reborn because he wouldn't be in a good headspace to be around her. Understandable. And he's like, she deserves to be happy. And then we also learn that he might love Layla too. So that's tricky. Then we get a spicy scene where Sera and Nyktos have sex in the throne room, which I was just like, my house, my throne, my woman. I was like,
Same.
hello. Yes, please. And then once we kind of, get our enjoyment from that, we get the showdown with Kolis that we knew was coming this entire time in this series. And we're like, let's go. How do we get this bitch in the ground? Let's stay there. So, first up, we have Sera, we got Nyktos, we got the crew. We got a solid plan on where they're going to put all their forces in the Bone Lands based on what they think Kolis might do. Because he's a creature of habit, and they're like, he's probably going to do this. Ios and Layla have to stay behind because they're newly ascended. True. But that angers Layla since she's a trained fighter. But ultimately, she ends up understanding. Then we get all hell breaking loose with fighting, like among the soldiers, the Draken, the Siren, everybody. It's crazy. And then Nyktos reminds Sera there's no more lines to be crossed. She should use her essence to protect herself and their unborn children. That doesn't make her a monster. That makes her a mother, which is so true. Like, just protect yourself. The revenants that they encounter are wearing gloves, which you're like, that's different. That's new. Why do you have gloves? And they have ancient bones as weapons. Again, you're like, how did you get those? Sera then figures out why Kolis' Draken, Nab, has different eyes from the other Drakens. That's because Kolis doesn't summon a horse like Nyktos. He summons a Draken. And you're like, what? Does this mean Sera gets to summon a Draken? Poppy is going to lose her shit if she gets to summon a Draken too, that she can ride. And now I'm just like, oh my god. Is this like Fourth Wing kind of coming into play here? I'm like, we get to summon our own. Out of our sleeve comes a little Draken and we can just like fly around. That sounds amazing. So fucking cool.
What if we get sex on a Draken?
OMG. Yes, I would love it.
Just throwing that out there.
I don't hate it. I don't hate this idea. Let's put that in the universe. Woo. Put that into the ether, please. And then Solus shows up with his Draken and makes it clear that he wants the star, and both of them in chains. And you're like, bring it.
Let's go. But he's a wimp, so he flies away on his Draken, doesn't have Takai show up. There's more fighting. They're starting to lose this battle against Kolis' forces because he has more of them because of all the courts that have sided with him. And then that's when Sarah's like, light bulb, do you remember how I used to bring that shade back to life, like accidentally? when it was like rebuilding itself, like, what if I use my ether to bring all of the dead in the Bone Lands back to life and have them fight Kolis' army? So she does that. And I was like,
Yikes.
that, talk about some queen moments.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then
Yeah, it's
Kolis fights
queen,
Sera.
but also,
Very queen,
ugh.
right?
Yeah.
But ew, right? Kolis fights Sera and Nyktos. Kolis realizes that Sera's pregnant. He makes some really horrible comments about what he's going to do to their children that I do not want to repeat because I about threw up when I read them.
No, no.
Thanos falls, meaning Sion's going to rise in his place as the new Primal. Fucking Column shows up, but then he ends up in pieces. That was good. We like that part.
Yeah.
Sera previously, during this time while all this fighting is going on, mainly between like Kolis and Nyktos, summons Theron, who ends up grabbing Kolis' head and messing with his mind. I was like, yes!
Yes.
And then Sera knocks Kolis out with a lightning bolt.
Got a little Violet Sorrengail in there.
A little, right? We got the Drakens, we got the lightning.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Shadow Daddy.
Yeah.
So they take Kolis to Oak Ambler, where they chain him up with ancient bones. They stab him in some specific places where he deserves it. They slash his arteries so blood pools on the floor. I did not really understand the point of that, but
yeah,
each his own. Kolis claims that Satoria will be reborn because the fates will decree it. They will reset the balance and nothing will stop him from having her. He will rise as the bringer of death and destruction. So who is the fucking bringer of death and destruction? Because earlier, Kella said the harbinger and the bringer of death and destruction was Satoria because wherever she went, Kolis went. Now he's saying he is. I don't know. There's like 12 people could be this one thing.
Yeah, like there's too many he said, she says, who is who?
Exactly. And then Sera tells Kolis, this is my favorite lines, if Satoria is reborn, then Sera will give her this ancient bone dagger, and it will be Satoria who drives it through his heart. And then she gives Nyktos a gift and lets him stab Kolis in the chest with a spear made of ancient bones. And then circles with a vertical line through them, the symbol of death, nearly the same as the mural crest, appear on the floor.
Mm-hmm. And you're like,
and I'm like, this was slightly too easy.
Yeah. What's going on?
Right?
Mm-hmm. And then after entombing Kolis, Sera knows something is wrong and they need to take care of Satoria, like, now. But unfortunately, it is too late because the Star Diamond has already been stolen. Like, what? Likely by a fate, because fucking balance, they're like, well, you do this, we're going to do that. And then Sera summons a fate and Aiden shows up and she demands the Star Diamond from him. But he claims it wasn't him who took the star. And then he delivers some interesting news here. He says, Satoria's bloodline is old and managed to carry enough essence no matter how many generations have passed through it, and that is why Kolis was drawn to her and Attes. Satoria is actually a direct descendant of the first mortal created by the blood of Ethos and the first Draken. So Ethos created several mortals, but Satoria descends from the very first, who also happens to give birth to the first mortal children. A son, a daughter, and then a second daughter.
What does that sound like?
Right? You're like,
yeah.
What? And then Satoria also descends directly from that second daughter, who was born in a shroud. She was chosen before Kolis ever saw her. So this means that Sera and Satoria are from the same bloodline. You're like, wait, what? What?
Yeah.
What? Which means Callum and
is
Sera
related to Sera.
And you're like,
yeah.
Oh.
Fucking Callum. Like,
yes. And that's where Athos made his mistake. Because he asked for the first daughter. He thought that was the key. But that is why Satoria was not reborn. So Aiden admits that they stopped a full-scale primal war and that they stopped the ancients from being too disturbed, but they did not completely stop the prophecy. Kolis would have felt Satoria's soul every single time that she's reborn because he's had enough of her blood, and now Sera's. You're like, oh shit. That's not
great.
Good. Great.
Okay, then Aiden makes a comment about the chest that Attes has, wanting to know what's in them. And Attes says it's not important. I'm like, well, this feels like another breadcrumb. So now we have two fates making comments about things related to Attes. What's going on? It also means that Satoria will be reborn as the second daughter of the Muriel bloodline whenever that happens, i.e., Poppy. Aiden also says, Satoria's soul is beyond your reach now. You all need to accept that. Now we are left with the only one way to prevent her from being reborn from the giver of the blood and the bringer of the bone, the primal of blood and ash. Okay, so I just want to throw this out here. The
Like we
primal
need to
of
step
blood and
back.
ash.
Yeah.
We take a step back. Who was announced as the king of blood and ash in Atlantia once he was crowned king? Castile.
Yeah.
He's literally the king of blood and ash, and we think he's a primal.
Yes.
So yeah. Okay.
He's primal.
Just throwing that out. I think he's a primal.
Yeah.
So, and she'll be reborn of your bloodline, the giver of the blood and the bringer of bone, and she will carry within her the embers of life and death, touched by life and death. Her shroud will be of crimson and gold and bear a royal mark, because the blood crown. The crown of the elm and the sword, slightly slanted, the crown of life and the sword of death. Aiden claims that Satoria will likely have no knowledge of the past. They may be the same soul and look identical, but they're not entirely the same person. He also mentions how the reborn may have memories of their previous lives, but often show up as dreams or instances of deja vu. Another reason that I think Attes and Castile are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And Satoria will be nowhere near the strength she will grow into when death comes for her. She will be a baby primal. So she will likely fall to death while waking the ancients. If she somehow manages to defeat death, then she will be corrupt. And then that's when Sera knows Aiden is wrong because of what Holland said. How no one in her bloodline will be corrupt because they never wanted power to begin with. But she doesn't share that with Aiden.
Aiden's not a fate to be trusted.
He's not.
And then next,
I don't think he's the worst one, which is really scary.
Not. Yeah, it's like, you're like the evil I know, but I still don't like you because you're evil. So the next one, it's just Sera, Nyktos, and Attes. Sera shares that she believes the Fates gave the Star Diamond to Callum. Sera and Nyktos realize that they will never have grandchildren to prevent this prophecy from happening. They're like, how do we... That's crazy. Sera also tells Nyktos that they need to ensure no mortal knows the true name of the Primal of Life to prevent Satoria from ever saying it in the future. You're like, fuck. So then fast forward 2 months, we get a spicy scene. Yay. Where Sera and Nyktos have sex and then he feeds from her. And eventually shifting into his primal form. Hello. What's up, baby? And afterwards, Sera realizes their hearts are beating in sync. And Nyktos thinks it's because they are heartmates. And it's the first time he's fed from her since she's awakened. Which is true. Which I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even realize that. Like,
yep.
Ah. And it's the final connection. But he's not really sure what that means. But that literally is like my theory of everything. Of like, it rebuilt his cardia and now it's all, and they're in sync. Like 2 hearts beat as one. However that song goes. Yeah. And I was like, yes, check. It happened. And then later, the primals all gather together for a celebration. Since they've spent a lot of time mourning and fighting and, healing. They're like, you know what? We need to have a party. Makes sense. And at the party, Attes mentions to Sera that tomorrow he plans to go into stasis. And you're like, oh, okay. And Sera asks Victor to be Satoria's Victor if she's reborn and to train her to defend herself. And Victor agrees to do what Sera asks and says, I will not fail you. I will not fail her. Which you're like, when he dies and he's just like, I failed you. And she's like, no, you didn't. It's like,
I know.
I lost it. I cried. I shed a tear at that point.
You shed a tear? That's big for you.
I know. I shed a tear for Victor.
You shed a tear when he died. I remember that. Okay. So now we're at the end of the book. We get another chapter with a title called The One Who Is Blessed. It's similar to the first chapter in the book where it's told by another narrator, right? So not from Nyktos' perspective. Sarah's close to giving birth. He worries about her. And then this chapter ends with Nyktos finally taking Sera to see his paintings. It's kind of like, I'm kind of like, why is this chapter here?
Yeah,
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
The last chapter is called The Star, and it follows fucking Colum, of course. He's back at the Cliffs of Sorrow, travels around the kingdom. Here's what we learned from this. Nyktos honors the oath he made Sera, and one by one the gods went to sleep to prevent vengeance against those who have harmed her child. So she does give birth to the kids at some point. Something happens to the kids, and he has to put her to sleep, and then the other gods go to sleep. Colum meets who we assume is Isbitch, ends up giving her the star. Great. Poppy's birth stirs death, i.e. Kolis, from his slumber, causing Kolis to grow stronger every year. Poppy's ascension at the hands of her fated mate, i.e. Castile, released death and woken the ancients and the lands beyond the primal veil. That does not sound good. No. And the only thing that can snap the threads of fate, the only hope the realms have, is love. Bookends. And I'm like, I have questions. I have theories. We got a lot to talk about still.
You're like, excuse me? How dare you?
How dare you? Whew. Okay.
Oh, boy.
Before we get to that, let's talk some hot and steamy. This felt like at least like 4 peppers. Is it 4.5?
4.5. I would give it a good 4.5.
It was good. Okay, so we start with chapter 4. So what I love is if we remember the last like 10% of A Fire in the Flesh was Nyktos and Sera like literally going at it, and then we get chapter 4 and they're going at it again. So thank you, appreciate that. Okay. One of the things
I'm like blushing reading this because I'm just like, I loved it so much.
Because the things that he says to her or he makes her say to him, she has come so far, literally, figuratively.
She's come very far,
right? But like he makes her like kind of tell him what she wants, and she goes, "Will you fuck my pussy?" And he's like, "Fucking gods." Then he did. And then she's just like, "In gods, Ash fucked hard and fast. The force as savage as his mouth moved over mine. We were frenzied as he drove into me over and over until I could no longer keep up with his wild rhythm. There was no steady build-up to release. I felt his cock begin to spasm, and that pushed me to the edge and right over. A storm of pleasure, almost violent in nature, swept through me, kicking my head back against his arms as I cried out his name. And all I thought was, keep in mind, it's been less than 10 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's an aggressive sex.
That's aggressive sex. And this is like 10 weeks of it.
Holy
he's
shit.
learned a lot very quickly. Well done.
Bravo.
Well
Bravo, sir.
done. And he's not even in his primal form.
Oh.
Like,
oh boy.
How did she handle so many times in A Fire in the Flesh and still be able to function? Like, I honestly don't know.
I mean, thank God for being, primal and like you can heal yourself because you wouldn't be able to walk for days.
Right?
Your legs would literally not be working. They'd be jelly.
Hey, maybe that's where the Draken comes in handy. Your own personal Draken so you can fly places and don't have to walk after you've been apparently banged a ton by your mate.
Yes. You're like, I'm sorry, I'm paralyzed by sex. I need to travel via Draken.
That doesn't sound horrible though. Now that like when you say it like that way, it sounds great.
I love it. Sounds amazing. Thank you so much. Can I take 2? And then we get chapter 12, where Sera goes down on Nyktos. And she literally starts it out with saying, I do think we have time for an appetizer. And he says, I'm not sure what you on your knees has to do with an appetizer. You'll see, she says, sliding her hands up the front of his thighs and then inward. He sucked in a ragged breath as my palm dragged over his rigid length. I think I'm starting to understand. It's like, oh, buddy, you know what she's about to do. She wanted to have a sausage.
Pre-dinner. What
Pre-date.
I love about this is like the previous chapter, like I am so impressed by his sexual skills. And then we get to this chapter and he has like no idea what's about to happen until she starts like basically getting ready to do it.
He's like, what?
It's
What's
just
going on? What's going on? Like, oh. It's like,
oh,
yeah.
okay. So then we get to chapter 14 where they have sex again. They have sex a lot in this book, and
It's
he
sex
uses
a
his
lot.
shadows. Anytime his
Oh,
shadows are being used, 12 out of 10. Highly recommend.
yes.
Because he's like teasing her at this point, right? And she's like, and he goes, "What do you want, my queen?
What do you want?
Me, Lisa." And he goes, I immediately knew what he wanted to hear me say. Fuck me, I whispered. Fuck my pussy and my ass, my king. And his chuckle was darkly sensual. The current of ether pulsed and then it eased into me. The sound I made scorched my cheeks as the pressure filled me to a point where I felt like I would lose all sense. Tension curled so tightly there was a good chance I would come if he so much as twitched. I was like, I need to spritz myself because because there's like multiple times throughout this book where she talks about how he's even bigger in his primal form.
Oh yeah, and he got he got jealous of
He
himself.
got
He's like,
of himself. Well, let's do a comparison. And I'm just like, I mean, okay. But also,
I
I
mean, how
just
nice is that when you're like, I'm in the mood for a little bit of a bigger dick, but it's not cheating because it's still you, so it's fine.
oh, I can't tell which one's bigger. Let's compare. We should go twice.
We should do it again.
He doesn't have that
Oopsies.
problem.
No, he does not. Whew. And then we have chapter 17, where Nyktos and Sera have sex before she gets summoned to go see Kolis. Again, 5 minutes, real fast, but it's longer than five
Also
minutes.
impressive.
Also impressive, yes. And he groaned into my mouth. Between his touch and that sound alone, I was undone. Fuck it, I moaned. We'll make time. Very true. Gripping my hips, he lifted me. I wrapped my legs around his waist. His tongue danced with mine as we moved. My back hit the wall near the doors, as cold and hard as his body. I reached between us, grabbing the front of his breeches. Our hands fumbled until he grew frustrated and ripped the flap open. He shoved his pants down, and then he was filling me, inch by inch, his length and girth stretching me. The bite of pain was delicious, and we both shuddered. 5 minutes are up, Aiden calls out. Holding me against the wall, Ash broke the kiss, his hips grinding against me. We're gonna need another minute. For fuck's sake, you hear in the background. It's just like, yes. This reminded me, honestly, of the scene in The Notebook when they're just like hands on each other, just like slamming into the doors and slamming into the walls, and just like top notch.
Very
So good.
so good. So then we get chapter 25 because, we've killed some dogs of war in Vath and then we decide to have sex again. And he starts off by saying, I have wanted to fuck you from the moment you shadow stepped into Vath. And I definitely wanted to fuck you when you took out the dogs of war. You were so powerful, so beautiful, fucking glorious, but I need to taste you first. I'm just
Yes.
like,
I think you do.
okay. Okay. And speaking of things I wanted to do, he dropped to his knees before me. Seeing him like that always left me breathless. When you sought to distract me as I wrote names in the Book of the Dead, I wanted to toss that gown up and get between your thighs. So now he's like talking about something that happened in the previous book when she was distracting him. And I'm just like greenest of green flags. Like, this is why, like, I love Castile, and he was my favorite book boyfriend in like kind of the romantasy genre. Like, he topped Xaden, which I didn't think was possible. I think Nyktos is above him. Now, I am fully prepared to potentially change that ranking after this next book. We'll see what we get. But there is something about Nyktos that I'm just like, it's all the things. It's all the things. He also has the shadow. I mean, it's like, what does he not have?
It's the best of both worlds.
It really is.
Pretty
We got
nice.
primal form, we got shadow. I mean, we
Got Shadow Daddy form, Primal form. And the best part is, like, he is just eager to please.
He
And
is.
thank you.
Thank you.
There was even like one point where he was like, it's time for my dessert now. You know? You're like, oh, yes. Yes, please. Speaking of, chapter 26, where Nyktos and Sera have sex after she feeds from him. She says, I had no idea how he'd gotten turned around on the settee or when he ended up flat on his back. All I could concentrate on was the feeling of his cock filling me as the power of his blood did the same. The combination drove me wild. I ground against him, keeping him deeply seated in me. That's it. His voice was a sensual snarl as one hand cradled the back of my head and the other fell to my hip. His fingers pressed into the flesh there. Ride me.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yes,
Chapter
Daddy.
31.
Yes, Shadow
Yes,
Daddy.
Daddy. Yes, Shadow Daddy Nyktos. Chapter 31. Sera can't sleep, so Nyktos decides to fuck her so hard that she'll fall right asleep. If you want to talk about a way to turn on a woman who can't sleep, that line will do it alone. I'm going to fuck you so hard that the only thing you can do afterwards is sleep. If you give me enough orgasms, that will happen. And Ash did. He fucked me hard, face to face, then flipped me onto my belly, driving into me until I was limp and satiated, and he was successful. Within 5 seconds of closing my eyes, I fell right to sleep. We have talked about this before. Science. You cannot argue with science, no matter how many people want to these days. Orgasms will let you sleep better.
Interestingly
I don't
enough,
make the
though,
rules.
I don't make the rules. But this might be TMI. Sorry, hun. Doesn't always work for him.
Oh, really?
Interestingly enough, sometimes after you've released yourself, you're like wide awake. You're like, all right, got that done. Now what am I? What am I gonna go do? Just like
Wait 20 minutes and do it again.
Right? That's where I'm like, okay. But no, actually, I'm like, good night. See ya. You go deal with the kids. I'm done. Bye.
You're on morning duty.
Bye. Exactly. Whew. That's how this morning went. Anyway, chapter 37. Nyktos and Sera have sex, which is just also so lovely. Fingers are curling against the wood. I moaned as ribbons of shadow swirled along the surface of the table and around my hands. My eyes closed as I whispered, harder. Fuck, he grunted, picking up his pace and going deeper, harder, like this. Yes, I panted, pinned firmly between him and the table, completely at his mercy. Yes. He drove into me with such intensity it was both punishment and a reward. And gods, I loved it. Me too.
Yep.
Me too. Loved it.
We had to chapter 52. Nyktos and Sera have sex after learning she's pregnant. This was, I would say, like probably the least. It was the most romantic.
Yes, it was more tamed on the thrusting.
Correct.
Because,
it was more
we're being
like
sensitive.
making love than fucking.
Yeah.
Is where I would like.
Yeah.
Right, because like she's like, I need you inside me now, right? And then he's very much like, I love you. It's just, it's sweet. And sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need what Megan just did, which was harder, faster now.
Harder, faster now. Yes.
Sometimes
Basically,
you need more of that.
You need the Daft Punk song, harder, better, faster, stronger. Like, let's go. And then sometimes you need the, very sweet, I want to say Kenny G playing in the background, candles are lit. It's beautiful. And then we get chapter 59, which again, we're going back up now. Woo. Nyktos and Sera have sex in the throne room. So sometimes you need to get done dirty in a throne room. Thank you very much, Shadow
Always.
Daddy. Always. I need you, he rasped, now. Dropping my forehead to his, I guided his cock with an urgency that bordered on desperation. He pulled me down hard as he thrust up, and the moment he entered me, I cried out, a riot of raw sensation pounding through me. Then neither of us moved for several seconds, our breaths coming in short, shallow pants. I felt him trembling, the same need building in me. I began to rock slowly, wanting to savor the small bite of pain as I stretched to accommodate every thick inch. The fullness was addictive. I bet it was.
I bet it was.
Bet it was.
So then we get to chapter 64 where Nyktos and Sera have sex and he feeds from her. And he's doing this thing where I want you to say my name. And she is being, I mean, this is what I would do. She's like, Nyktos. And he was like he growls at her and she's like,
Say it again.
Ash. And then he goes, and whose cock is inside you? And then she says Ash. And then he strikes her like so fast with his fangs, right? Which I'm just like,
Uh,
okay. Well,
uh,
because like in part of what I loved about this one is it's the first time he's like fed from her since she's ascended, since everything with Kolis happened. And so
yeah,
like he's trying to remind her like it's him, it's
it's
him.
me.
But
Yeah,
also he's doing it in a way that's like, oh, just thank you. Okay.
satisfies him too.
And me when we read it.
And
So
all,
great.
yes, we love it.
Okay. Theory time. We've got a lot. We've wrapped a lot up. We're going to start with the theories that are definitely answered in this book, so we can check off the list. It's about
Let's do
damn
it.
time. Okay,
Yes.
so why were Malik and Eris born in the mortal realm? Our original theory was it would be safer for them to be born there. And we were kind of right on this one. We assumed it had to do with like a potential war. That was like our big thing, is that this war was going on for years. Or some drama with Kolis. But like much simpler explanation. Sarah was born immortal. It's tradition to give birth in the mortal realm then. It's supposedly easier on your body. But hey, we know. Mark it off. Moving on.
Moving on. Next, why does Nyktos' skin become warm? So in this book, we learn that Nyktos becomes warmer every time he feeds. Earlier in the series, he didn't feed as often, so that's why he would feel colder. Which we're like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense too.
Makes sense. We thought originally, I think that like it was like every time they had sex, which I like that logic better.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, but this makes sense
Which
too.
works out because they would feed and then have sex, so
Exactly. So that's how we got there.
I wouldn't say we were wrong. We were just kind of not 100% on track. Close
We
enough.
had like maybe it was like a B average on that one.
Yeah, it was a B, yeah.
Okay. So why did the gods go to sleep? We were right about Nyktos having to force Sarah to go to sleep. He did end up honoring the promise he made to her so she wouldn't seek vengeance. We know it was related to her children. We don't know specifically what caused it though.
TBD. Can anyone kill Kolis? Great news. Yes, Satoria can definitely kill Kolis. Bad news. Satoria's soul is in Poppy. So Poppy is Satoria reborn, and she's going to get the honor of killing Kolis. So we kind of have to wait a bit for this to happen. We're like, come on. We know we can do it, but when?
So, does Colin recognize Poppy as Satoria? Yes. He knows Poppy is Satoria because he gave Isbitch the Star Diamond. But that's also why he didn't have that reaction to her when she first meets him, because if you think about it, he's known her since birth.
Yep. Yep. So he tries to trick us there. Then why does Attes promise Satoria that he will save her this time? What is his connection to her? Yeah, totally right. He's in love with Satoria. He's just like, I will save you. I love you. I just want you to be happy and be free. And you're like, oh.
Oh, I love it. Okay. Will the ancients come back? We saw this coming. We don't like, to be clear, we do not like it. One bit, 0 out of 10, do not want it to happen, but the ancients are going to start waking up now that Poppy was ascended. So we do know that that, in fact, has started to occur.
We're going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
But it'll be fun to read. Now, what role will Kaylee Balfour play? So while she doesn't specifically seem to play like a role, like her family does, because one of her ancestors was the very last oracle who told Athos more things about the prophecy that led him to place the embers in Sarah's bloodline. So we got like half answers here. We don't know exactly what the Balfour part is like here. Like we just kind of halfway know. We're like,
Yep.
I need more answers.
Is Sarah pregnant? We were right. She was definitely pregnant before she was held captive by Kolis.
Which made us nervous the entire time.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, does Millicent, aka Millie, actually know and feel more than we think? Yeah, we're totally right on this one because Millicent is like Callum. We know that she has a soul and she feels emotions, and the way she was made into a reverend is definitely different than everybody else.
So is there some bigger reason why there's so many similarities between Sarah and Nyktos and Poppy and Castile? Yes. There's a connection because Sarah and Poppy are obviously related since Poppy is her granddaughter. Additionally, Poppy is Satoria reborn, who is from the same bloodline as Sera, and Sera carried Satoria's soul for 20 years. We also know that both of these couples are heartmates, is very rare.
There's a lot going on there.
There
And
is.
now we got to tackle the remaining outstanding theories related to the Flesh and Fire series. Who had the guards attack Sera in the castle? We still don't have a firm answer on this one,
No.
and it's driving me nuts. But we cannot rule out it being the mom. Like, we just can't.
No.
It's honestly more inclined to think it's possible that Callum might have ordered the attack since he also showed up that day. Have some questions now about his true intentions here.
Yeah. So why did Colum tell Sera's mother about how to kill a primal? Colum remains one of the hardest characters to understand because his motivations are not clear. Is it possible he hoped Sera would eventually kill Kolis? This might sound kind of crazy, but it would potentially stop Kolis from looking for his sister's soul. We also know that Colum didn't think Sera was Satoria, so he wouldn't have been worried about what happened to her as a result.
Why does Sera hate revenants so much? So she had to spend a lot of time with Callum, which would honestly make anyone hate a revenant. Plus, they're really hard to kill. Supposedly, there is a personal reason for her hatred of them, but we don't have any other theories except that they're an abomination of life, and obviously she hates Callum. So there you go.
That's enough.
That's enough for Nick there, yeah.
Okay. Who is the narrator of the first chapter and the last two chapters of this book? We're thinking it's the RA or the Fates. After all, they can see everything, which is actually like really creepy if you think about it. But I think that's who does those 3 chapters.
Do you think it's the same one?
I do.
Okay, me too. So besides being power hungry, is there another reason why Kolis wants to ascend as the primal of life and death? I mean, supposedly, Kolis used to be a good guy. I don't know if I believe it, but now he seems pretty much set on like 2 things: getting Satoria back and seeking revenge. Don't really see how he cares at all about the greater good. Be very, very bad for him to become the primal of life and death. So let's hope that never happens.
So who told Kolis about the Star Diamond and why? We know that one of the Fates told him. We don't know which one. We've only met a few of them at this point, and we don't even know how many exist.
Yeah.
So that feels like something that's going to come to play in importance in the next book. Like, I think there's this whole collection of Fates and Ancients that we're like, we know there's a dozen in the mortal realm. We have no idea how many are actual Fates or how many are entombed potentially in the Elysium. We've got questions.
A lot of questions. But besides those questions, we're also going to go over our outstanding theories related to the Blood and Ash world and what could potentially happen in this next book. So, first up, is Poppy going to remember who she is? Is she going to remember everyone else? Is she going to remember the stories that Castiel told her when she wakes up? Well, prior to this book, we thought Poppy would likely remember almost everything, similar to how Sera did when she awoke from stasis. However, we got to amend that slightly, because now we've learned that Kolis started to awake when she was born and continues to grow stronger every year. We also know that he's drawn to her, so this makes us wonder if he's somehow going to infiltrate her mind while she's in stasis, like using that creepy power to feed on the trauma and use it against Poppy somehow. Has he been able to do that while she's in stasis? Like, is that going to fuck her up when she comes out? I don't know. I think if he's able to do it, it'll totally fuck her up.
I know. It's a theory I have.
Yeah.
So, will Kolis use his essence to root out the trauma and fears of Poppy, Castiel, or Kieran and use it against them? Yes. We think Kolis is definitely going to use his powers to try and get them to turn on one another.
Mm-hmm. But will he be successful? Because heartmates. I
don't know.
So, what did Nyktos tell Nyktos to remember? Oh, current theory has something to do with what Sera was able to do in the Bone Lands, since Nyktos mentioned it when they were dealing with the Shades. So I think, it's a reminder to Nyktos that the true primal of life can call upon the previously dead to help fight. They're likely going to need some reinforcements in the next battle against Kolis and the Ancients. Definitely think he's going to be like, hey, let's bring back the Shades and they'll fight against them. Good thinking.
Is Castiel God? We are more convinced that this is the case. Let's go through the reasons. He's a descendant of Attes. He can shift into a cave cat. There are multiple mentions in this book about a primal of blood and ash. Guess who was introduced as the king of blood and ash when he and Poppy took the throne? Castile.
Castile.
Need I go on? He has now. Did Attes really go into stasis? This ties into this previous question about Castile being a god. Here's what we know. He said he was going to go into stasis so he doesn't become like Ken. Is it possible that he did it for a bit and then came out of stasis? Our theory is that Etty's soul is in Castile, or he's been reborn as Castile, which would explain some of the powers that Castile has and why Castile was so drawn to Poppy. It would also explain why Castile has these moments of deja vu with Poppy about her laugh and smile.
Which is very specific.
Yes, very specific.
Yes, I do so believe that. Now, could Poppy, Castile, and Kieran all be heartmates? I mean, yeah, it's got to be. We're convinced. You can't tell us it's not going to happen. It's true. It's very interesting that after the joining, the three of them all notice their hearts beating in sync, which is exactly what happens to Nyktos and Sera after he feeds from her at the end of the book. Seriously, it's like fueling our theory that the three of them are heartmates. We also know it can happen to more than one. I think it's true. It's done. That's sealed. It has to be.
Sealed. We're convinced. Hill
Yeah.
we will die on.
Mm-hmm.
So, who will remake the realms in the prophecy? We know the prophecy continues to make it sound like it's Millie, Malik, Poppy, and Castile. We're still going to believe that it's Sera, Nyktos, Poppy, and Castile. While Millie is the first daughter of Isbitch, we don't think she's the first daughter referenced in the prophecy.
Yeah, I still think that first daughter is technically Sera.
I do too.
Now, what is the truth about Shay that Castile and Kieran mentioned? So we know how Shay died, but we learn in the Visions of Flesh and Blood that there is a similarity between Poppy and Shay that is mentioned, even though it's not in A Soul of Ash and Blood. So we're like, okay, what do you know that we don't know? What do you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know either. Is Miss Willa a goddess? We still think this could be the case. There is definitely more to that woman than she has shared with us or her other many lovers. Another really crazy idea is that she could be an RA of Fate or a Victor. She seems to know a lot about everyone, and she walks a very fine line of interfering. We also know that she previously had relations with Victor prior to the diary entry, which would have been at the beginning of From Blood and Ash timeframe, which seems to further boost the possibility that she is a goddess RA or Victor. Like, how else would she, like, she knows what he is and who he is, and she's gotten down with him before the roof time.
Exactly. I still think, yeah, she's like an RA of some kind. Now, will the Primal of Life be able to help Millie no longer be a Revenant? Maybe. I mean, confident, like Sera or Poppy, I think will be able to help Millie. I don't know if they're going to care about the consequences of helping her. Like, fuck the realm. So,
fuck the balance.
Especially if it's Poppy. If it's Poppy, she's going to say, fuck the balance. Who cares? Like,
correct.
Whatever. But I feel like if she does that, then like the balance is going to be Malik. What if he dies?
I don't know if I'd be sad. Remember how I'm going to make a list of people I'm okay with dying? He's like one of the people on the list.
Yeah, that's true. That's fine.
I don't know him well enough to like him enough. The things I do know about him, I don't love.
Yeah.
So there'd be zero tears shed over him at this point. Subject to change, yes. But like at this point, I would not cry. Delano, different story. Okay. So what's the significance of Perry's medallion? This was mentioned again in the Visions of Flesh and Blood in the overview about Perry. And we also learn in this book that Rain carries something so he can communicate with Nyktos. Is it possible that Perry is a descendant of Rain's bloodline and can communicate with others if he carries the medallion? We already know that his father Sven knows primal magic.
Is he our mole? Should we still be worried about a mole? With Poppy and Castile's group?
Should be terrified,
yeah,
I think.
Absolutely. Have not forgotten about that. Again, still think it's Perry, Emil, Heisa at this point. There's a couple of things we learned from Miss Willa's point of view in Visions of Flesh and Blood, but just got so many questions about these guys. They're on our skeptical shit list. I just don't know.
Okay, so what's going on with the Unseen? We have a feeling they're going to be popping up in the next book. They have been quiet for way too long. We've talked about this earlier. When it's quiet, we worry. This could also be a little bit out there, so bear with me. But is it possible that the Unseen were trying to prevent the prophecy from happening? Like that they've known this bigger prophecy. And that's why they didn't want Poppy to ascend to the throne in Atlantia.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we see them as the bad guys, but really they're not?
They're the good guys.
Besides fucking Alistair.
Besides him. No, he's a bad guy. Bad guy. He fucked us. And not in a good way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also just had a thought. The Bone Clans.
Oh, God, I hate them.
Oh, no. Hear me out. What if they are what remains of the Shades?
Oh!
The ones that, the ones that came back to help fight. What if they never really die again, but they're not really alive, so now they're part of the Bone Clan?
Oh, I don't like it. I mean, that's very possible. I just don't like anything involving the Dead Bones clan.
No.
It's like my one trigger warning that I don't like, and snakes.
Sorry, I should have warned you on that one. But I think that, what if that's them? Because it's like, where'd they come from?
I don't know, because they wear, like, skin and, like, all kinds of weird things.
Yeah, they're old skin.
Ugh.
Okay.
Can you imagine if she can command the Dead Bones clan?
I mean, that'd be powerful at her army, I'm just...
That would be.
Better to have them on your side than not on your side.
I mean, touche.
Oh. But also, speaking of death and destruction and dying, who should be worried about dying? I think everyone at this point. Like, we are seriously convinced that the Primal of Blood and Bone is just going to completely destroy us emotionally. We're never going to be the same again. We have to make a list of all the people that Sera or Poppy have brought back to life, so we need to know who's going to be dead. And I am not prepared for this.
I am not either.
Prepared. I am very
I cannot wait. But I also am not prepared.
But I'm scared. Yeah.
So, okay. In terms of what's next, if you enjoyed this book, we think you're going to love reading The Fall of Ruin and Wrath by Jennifer Armentrout. It is not related to this series, but also kind of connected. Rumor has it if you haven't read it already, it's highly recommended you read it after The Primal of Blood and Bone, which is going to be the newest book in the Blood and Ash series.
And first of all, I also want to point out, if you've kept up with us this long, like you're 3.5 hours deep in this episode, kudos to you. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. This is probably our longest one ever.
Or close to it, yeah.
Or close to it, yeah. And then please also join us next week when we do cover the first 3 episodes of The Primal of Blood and Bone on September 15th. Thank you to the teaser of that book that Jennifer Armentrout graciously shared with everyone. We will have an entire episode on that book that's going to be released October 22nd. But later this week, we will also dive into the world of contemporary romance and discuss Happily Never After by Paisley Nash. Happy reading, everybody.
Happy reading. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.